And it's interesting, we're having technology issues in the city of Houston, right? The space city, the city that would man on the moon. We actually got early to Houston yesterday, so I had a chance to sneak down to the Space Center. And for me, what struck me was the revolution change that came with the space shuttle. So as you walk through the Space Center, and you look at all the missions, and you look at who were the mission astronauts, they were, in all honesty to most of us here, middle-aged white males with military backgrounds, proper bus cuts, the whole thing. And which made sense. That was the old way of thinking. That's what the all of the early missions, you know, the Apollo, the Gemini, Mercury, that's what they're designed for. But then came the space shuttle, and you start looking at the faces of the crews, and we're seeing women, we're seeing people from different backgrounds, we're seeing people from different ethnic backgrounds. We're no longer seeing 100% white male military types. And why is that? The space shuttle changed the game. So you no longer have to be highly skilled military pilot to fly the damn thing. You could be a scientist, you could be a researcher, you could be a teacher, and still be a great hustler. And that came with a change in technology, and more importantly, it came with a change in thinking. So the power of innovation. That is, I think, something we can learn from the space program in our world as well. If we use right technology, and more importantly, change how we think, we use innovation in all phases of VR. We can be ready for the world of today and tomorrow, not just the world of 5 or 10 years ago. So I would like that to be our theme for the day. How do we actually innovate our thinking around all phases of VR? How do we approach the stakeholders? How do we use technology? How do we attract customers? How do we deal with the VR staff? How do we make their lives better? How do we make lives better of VR providers using a new, fresh way of thinking? Speaking of fresh way of thinking, we are absolutely thrilled to welcome 5 new members to the council. So, big round of applause for the members. Some of you virtually. I would like to give everybody just 2 minutes, and we will enforce the 2 minutes. Tell us your name, where you're from, and what brought you to the council. What drives you to serve the citizens of Texas, and what is your goal for joining the council? So just 2 minutes. And to get started, Noreen, if you don't mind.
Sure. Thank you so much for the kind introduction and the wonderful presentation about the Space Center, because I'm actually living in Taylor Lake Estates, which is just down the road from the Space Center. My father-in-law was a physicist on the first Apollo mission. So happy that I love the theme of the power of innovation. So I'm from Noreen Jalloway Gill, Taylor Lake Estates. My mission and passion has always been the employment of people with the most significant disabilities. I truly believe in community integrated employment for people with all levels of disabilities, and hope that I'd be able to contribute some of those ideas to this group, as well as representing organizations such as the asking the Association for Persons in Employment First, as well as the Architects Association. So thank you very much.
That's awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Do we have Jordan? Is Jordan on the line with us? I think Jordan was dialing in. You have mute, Jordan, so if you might mind coming up mute and say a few words. Jordan, we'll get back to you. Michelle Harper.
Good morning, and I apologize for not being on camera. We are having some technical difficulties as well this morning over here. But I am Michelle Harper, and I am the president and CEO of the United Way of Hays and Caldwell Counties. And I'm just really looking forward to serving the state of Texas by being on this council. We in my role as the CEO, we work with a ton of different nonprofits, making sure that there is access to healthcare and services throughout our community. And so getting to do that on a larger scale is something that really just pulls at my heart. And I'm excited to jump on board and see how I can play a role on this commission. So thank you all so much. And I look forward to meeting you all in person sometime soon.
Welcome. Tiffany? There's Tiffany Jeffers.
Hello, technology is not cooperating this morning. Good morning, everyone. I'm Miss Jefferson from Rowlett, Texas, and I'm excited to be able to work with everyone. I've had a passion for working with individuals with disabilities for the past 15 years, and I'm super excited. I've partnered with many districts and with rehabilitation centers as well as Abundance of Love. And I'm just super excited and ready to give input wherever I'm needed. Thank you.
Welcome. Patrick?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're coming through loud and clear, Mr. Patrick Sturdivant.
Good morning. My name is Patrick Sturdivant. I'm in San Antonio, Texas. I'm a principal strategy consultant for a company called DQ Systems. We're a software company. I am blind. I am a screen reader user. I'm here representing the State Independent Living Council, and I have a passion for seeing anyone with a disability be employed. So I'm excited to get to work with you all.
Fantastic. And Jordan?
Hello, my name is Jordan Smelly. I'm a mental health peer specialist here in Texas, and I also support people with intellectual and developmental differences. One thing I kind of wanted y'all to know about is I do wear a weighted vest sometimes to help with my anxiety or if I'm struggle focusing. And I say this because when I wear it, it looks like a mini bulletproof vest on me. So if I look like I'm wearing a bulletproof vest, that's my weighted vest. So please don't be concerned, not like hearing gunshots or anything like that.
Awesome. Welcome. And speaking of welcomes, Region 5 leadership, guys, thank you for hospitality. Like to open the floor to you to tell us about what makes this region special.
Well, welcome to Region 5. Thank you so much for traveling in and being with us today. It's the first time that we've done a hybrid meeting like this in this room, so you're pioneers with helping us get this together. I appreciate that.
Very good.
Are we ready to start?
Yes,
Thank you so much. So as I said, welcome to Region 5. Gulf Coast Region 5 is anchored right here in Houston, Texas, and we serve this Houston Metroplex and all the surrounding cities. We have 20 integrated workforce solutions career centers, and we have 6 standalone offices here in Region 5. We have about 287 full-time FTEs, and right now we have 5 contract workers. Those are temporary contract workers, but helping us out. Now we have 5 management units in Region 5. All of them are what's called mega units in our language. That means they each have 3 to 7 office locations, and all of the supervisors, most all of the supervisors have 15 direct reports. A couple of them have 13, 14. So they are large units spanning a lot of offices. The Gulf Coast Workforce Board has 25 offices, and they serve 13 counties. When you are on a break, you can see a map over here on the wall. For those of you that are virtual, we have 13 counties going from Huntsville all the way down the coast of Texas to Bay City. Next slide, please. You can see, oh, I'm sorry, could you go back one? There you go. Thank you so much. You can see on this map the size of our region in comparison with others across the state of Texas. Region 5 is very compact. The Houston area is actually, the city of Houston is actually the 4th largest city in the United States. So a lot of people, okay, over 2 million people right here in the Houston area. We operate under one workforce board, which is a unique dynamic. We have one workforce board, the Houston Galveston Area Council. They're in this building. You saw the big signs when you come up, Houston Galveston Area Council. So we're co-located with Houston Galveston Area Council, call it HGAC. But they have 3 contractors working under them that run our career centers. They're Baker Ripley, Equus, and Interfaith. Those 3 contractors have the workforce centers divided among them. They pretty much work the same way, which is a great dynamic for us, seeing as we have the one board and the 3 contractors underneath them. Most all of the Workforce Solutions Career Centers have VR staff in them, with the exception of a few of the outlying and some that are pending integration. So good presence and cooperation there. Next slide, please. Before we tell you more about our employer initiatives and our service initiatives, I want to give an overview of what Region 5 is doing in fiscal year 2024. In fiscal year 2024, we just started out, steady pace wins the race. And the overarching initiative in steady pace wins the race is providing quality services throughout the fiscal year without any dips or transitions between the fiscal years. It'll probably take us about 2 years through a 2-year cycle to get that mind thought and that way of operation embedded in our staff and in our culture. Running simultaneously, we started a focus campaign for quality customer services. We're using the customer satisfaction survey as our driver with the new questions. New tools we have soon to be released are a desk aid with a script on it, and also a flyer to promote customer service and to notify our customers what is expected of our staff, and to let them know that there's a survey and that is a way they can give feedback. So right there on this slide, you see a clip of some of the questions that are on that flyer that will be displayed in the offices so customers can see it as well as the staff. Now moving forward, may I have the next slide, please? Let's talk about our employer engagement in Region 5. Region 5, we brand ourselves as leaders of the future because we have a unique, renowned employment opportunities. These unique employers not only have jobs, but they bring in many other employers in everything from real estate to STEM to hospitality, whole supporting communities around them. NASA Johnson Space Center being the premier example. Johnson Space Center is the Center for Mission Control and for training the astronauts. So as you know, flights launch from Cape Canaveral and then they're controlled for mission control in Houston, Texas. Okay, here you see a picture of the neutral buoyancy log. The MBL is where astronauts practice simulate the weightlessness of space. They have full scale mock-ups sunk in there, and the astronauts go in with highly trained divers and technicians. They do an EVA or extravehicular activity. This is in the Houston area, the MBL, not to mention spaceports coming. May I have the next slide? One of our other major employers is Space Center Houston. Space Center Houston is the official visitor center and educational center located adjacent to Johnson Space Center, NASA. Space Center Houston is also a work site for summer earn and learn and a sponsor of Paving the Pathways business projects. So a lot of activity going with Space Center Houston. Next slide, please. Other employers we work with and that are renowned in the Houston area are MD Anderson Cancer Hospital, the Port of Houston Ship Channel, one of the busiest ports in the United States, the cruise terminals in Galveston, and the Kemah Boardwalk. Each of these industries generates related employment opportunities in fast food, retail, housing, service industries, as well as a very robust school system. Another initiative we have in Region 5 is working with the Harris Health System. I'm going to turn it over to Deputy Regional Director Tashira Gobert. She's going to explain what we do with Harris Health and the STEP program.
Thank you, Susan. So Harris Health is one of our STEP programs that we initiated when state office came up with the idea to start this program where we can actually provide work experience with adult customers. STEP stands for Skills Training to Employment Project. And basically it aims to provide skills training and employment opportunities to adult VR customers who lack basic skills for entry-level employment. This particular partnership builds upon previous successful pilots that we've had with Walgreens and Whole Foods across the state. And it involves partnerships between VR, a host employer, and an employment service provider. And the project includes 1 week of vocational adjustment training and up to 12 weeks of work experience with the employer at their sites. The goal is for our VR customers to learn and demonstrate the necessary knowledge and skills to be hired by the employer. So with Harris Health, we began this pilot in January 2022. Since then, we've had 4 cohorts. We're currently working on our 5th. In cohort 2, we had 100% of the participants who were visually impaired. All other cohorts are interns of various disabilities. Thus far, we've trained about 25 customers, and we have 2 that have resulted in employment. We're working to increase those outcomes as we target more of a variety of positions that are hiring at Harris Health. Initially, the intern opportunities offered at Harris Health were customer service representatives, data entry positions, office assistants, patient escorts, things like that, even virtual call center representatives. But now Harris Health has identified 16 new employment opportunities for our customers, replacing where they currently have high turnover and ongoing hiring needs. So some of those are inpatient experience care representative, patient discharge assistant, and patient hospitality specialist. You can go to the next. So part of the Harris Health process, we have to identify the desired employment opportunity that are available and customers that may be interested in that program. Harris Health has their own onboarding process for our customers, and then we offer the soft skills training prior to the beginning in the placement into a department with our employment service providers. And they complete up to 12 weeks, depending on the cohort. What we like to do is have our customers start identifying opportunities that they may be interested in. And then our business relations coordinators, as well as the employment service coordinator, try to identify some jobs that they may be a good fit for while they're interning. They get assistance, one-on-one assistance with the hiring process with Harris Health, and anyone that's not hired with Harris Health are also assessed for other work experience or job placement opportunities with other business partners. Basically, Harris Health provides us the opportunity for customers to gain entry-level experience in the healthcare industry. And Houston is renowned for healthcare is a big employment. It's one of the areas that we need a lot of assistance in that area. Susan.
Next one. So let's go back to our pre-ETS services. Region 5 has 24 TBRCs plus 4 TBRCs that serve just the blind and visually impaired students. So BRCs are VR counselors with general caseloads, also serve transition students. We have a very robust transition program in Region 5. Collectively, these TBRCs and VRCs and RAs, all the words together are counselors and rehab assistants, serve 19,050 pre-ETS services. That's how many services were delivered in fiscal year 2023. Summer Earn and Learn is one of the largest initiatives and relies on partnerships with the board, the school districts, and businesses. Summer Earn and Learn had 610 students that completed the 5 weeks of paid work experience. And this year we paid $13 an hour. Our initial goal was 525. We went way past that with the 625. This year we had work readiness training as an option. 163 of those students elected to participate in the work readiness modules that are offered and provided. So a very successful Summer Earn and Learn program. Also in the picture, you see Camp Empower. This is a camp we hold for our students that are deaf. It's all in ASL, and it targets that group on helping them get the work skills that they need. Next one. Next slide. We offered a student job shadow at NASA. Here you see pre-DS students that are and foster youth that are working alongside NASA employees in different professions in the STEM industry. They got to actually go into the NASA work environment and get an idea of what that's like should they go to work there. We had a tour of the Saturn V by a member of active duty Space Force. I think that's kind of exciting. Next slide, please.
So something like that. Did you approach NASA or did NASA approach you? They experienced, to shadow, for example, NASA folks. Who approached who?
We approached them. We approached them and established the relationship with NASA Johnson Space Center.
Gotcha.
Thank you for asking. Okay. One of our other initiatives is paving the pathways to success. This is a group skills training that is unique to Region 5. Actually, VR manager Cheryl Guido is the originator. She just stepped into the room. If you'll raise your hand, Ms. Guido, stand up, say hello. So good to see you and thank you. Paving the Pathways to Success is a 9-month program. It includes a work readiness. It includes a business project where the students pair up with the business. Here you see Whataburger. They do their presentations, so they're learning to prepare business presentations, public speaking, critical thinking, and it ends with a paid work experience. So paving the pathways has been very productive. You'll be hearing some of our students that graduated from there and moved on through their VR process speaking with you today. Next slide, please. Here's a picture of paving graduates from this year as well. This is the business project from Space Center Houston. They did a design for Kids Space Place. That's the area for youth in the visitor center where they can actually communicate with an astronaut and some other things as well. So wonderful partnership with the Workforce Board and Space Center Houston. Next slide, please. So, thank you for joining us as we talked about the Gulf Coast Region 5. We have a lot of exciting and unique things happening in the Gulf Coast area. Region 5 is focused on being leaders of the future because of the unique opportunities we have for our customers and the unique opportunities we have to work under the dynamics of being in such a large city. Thank you for joining us today, and we'll ask if you have any questions.
Folks, any questions for the, for Susan or to share? What do you think you guys do extremely well that other regions can learn and adopt?
You want to answer?
So I think mainly we just try to take the initiative when things roll out and try to get on top of those things quickly, because we know that we have a huge area that we cover. And so, two of my business relations coordinators are here today, and we segment each area so that they can target those specific areas, because Houston is huge, but we have like different areas that we don't have the employment service providers in, like Huntsville or even Bay City or things like Jackson, that we have to try to get business partners in those areas. So we have to take that initiative. And so my two staff, they do a great job of that. And so it's helped us to develop partnerships like the one you're here from today.
And do you see any difference between what both our customers, our customers, as well as the employers? Do you see any differences in what those folks are looking for now versus 5, 7, 10 years ago?
Well, I think the pandemic changed a lot for everyone, and a lot of employers at first, there was a lot of virtual opportunities, and it seems like now more so that we're going into either hybrid or more in person. They're trying to get people to come back in person, whereas the customers, on the other hand, not necessarily wanted to go back in person. So that's a challenge in trying to get them back into that mode. Even our workforce board here, they're looking to, streamline their services and not have a big footprint anymore, because nobody's coming into the workforce center as much as they used to. And so that's a big change, and it's a challenge as well.
How do we get ahead of it? Because it's only gonna accelerate, right? So
Yeah, I mean, we just keep working, and we keep targeting our businesses and trying to figure out what's the next step to get with our customers and see where the needs are, where is the hiring demand.
wanted to ask, this is Karen, I know when the transitioning into the workforce solution offices started, there was some confusion between staff of who did what. And I just was wondering, since you have 20 offices, I think you said now that are co-located, would you guys say that kind of that learning curve is over and things are working pretty well, or?
Things work a lot better than they did initially. There's still a learning curve.
Yeah.
Because like we said, even though we have one board, we have three
Yeah.
contractors, and they all work a little bit different. And so we have some offices that have, let's say Texas City, they have 7 offices. Well, they have one contractor that's Baker Ripley, and then they have another one that's Equus, and then it's like, but they don't do things the same way. So there's still that learning curve, but we're definitely doing a lot more building. We have a program that we did with them called Better Together,
Yeah.
and we're working on a decade now, because I think the confusion is, what does VR do? And what do they do? And so we're working on a decade now to try to figure out, okay, this is what VR can do, and this is what Workforce Board can do, and what are the requirements for those big programs to take?
I think one of the things that has helped us, that may not be unique, to our region, but to VR is we have a lot of new staff. We have a new generation of staff that, are used to, being integrated in the workforce solution centers. So we've been at this, almost 7 years. So, the people that have come on since have been to the career centers, it's no longer new, so we're over that hurdle.
That's true. Well, that's good.
Folks, any other?
Got our speakers and some of our partners here, so you get to have the treat of hearing them speak about what we've just told you.
There you go.
And so I would like to introduce to you, and you can see on your sheet that we have on your desk. We're going to hear from Tommy Hughs. Okay, you do or Sarah want to go first?
Everyone's fine. Sure.
Miss Sarah, okay. You're going to see about Sarah. You can see her interesting biography on the sheet we have here on the table. So Sarah Beth Lee, she's a college student. She's attending St. Thomas University and working on her degree in pragmatics. I'm going to turn it over to Sarah so she can tell us about her experiences in VR and in paving the pathway.
In this summer, I participated in Paving the Pathways and Summer Earn to learn with DWC. I really enjoyed the experience and think that it provided a lot of skills to enter the workplace. This first part, we had classes. We were assigned to Ms. Jones as a mentor. We were assigned about 6 kids in a group. This was great because we were able to meet other people with learning differences that were our age. The class included budgets, resumes, interviews, and lessons about advocating for my disability. I like getting to know other people with learning differences and learning how to prepare my resume. The second part of Summer Earn to Learn, we all looked at jobs in our areas which were interesting to us. I love that Designer Diva is a retail shop with designer clothes and accessories. I work 4 days a week and 5 hours a day, and earn a paycheck. There was a job coach who helped me know what to do. I learned about timesheets, work breaks, making candles, sorting clothes, helping customers find clothes. I like learning new skills and earning money. The last part, we worked on group projects for real companies. I worked on NASA. Our job was to design the children's hair with new displays with and present them with our company. My idea for a display was video talking astronaut who answers questions about his spacesuit and space with guests and NASA visitor center. We came in second place to the Museum of Natural Science group. The museum group designed a t-shirt for Autism Month. The first and second place winners were invited to the guards for 3 days to shadow moving place. I looked at the gift shop of the pyramids. I counted stock and prepared it to be on display. We also worked on presentations about our job duties and how special moving parts is for people with disabilities. The moving employees were really nice and kind. We also learned about showing up for meetings, working in groups, and paying restaurant bills and tips. I really like working in a different city and learning about some place new. I feel like this experience helped me learn a lot, providing providing me for a living experience. I made a lot of new friends from the community and learn about businesses which are disability friendly.
Do you have any questions for Sarah Beth?
So what do you want to do in 5 years?
I probably want to be a communication person or a business owner.
And what skills do you think you need to learn to get there?
For interactive communication with business and women and stuff like that.
Good. Very nice. Very nice. Folks, any other questions for Sarah Beth?
Thanks for sharing.
Thank
you, Sarah.
Thank you.
Great job.
And now we're gonna hear from Mr. Tommy Hughes. He's a 21-year-old college student. He's attending St. Thomas University. And, so take it away.
All right, good morning. Let's get started. This is my presentation. So I elaborate on what the last, I'm elaborating on what from the last presentation in October. This is just, I'm gonna read it again, but adding a few extra things on. All right, let's do it. My learning experience with VR, so I'm Tommy Hughes. I'm about to share my learning experiences. So my experiences with VR was exciting because I got to learn about some different opportunities in the field. And I worked with TWC the last 4 years since I was in 11th grade. I attended the University of St. Thomas and attended their pragmatic studies program. This program is a general studies program for students with learning differences, which she and I are in. I am the first cohort of pragmatic studies that launched in August of 2021. I got my associate's degree back in May for completing my associate's program. That was a 2-year program. And now I just started a brand new bachelor's program back in August. It's a continuation of the pragmatic studies program in the 4-year degree. I will be getting my bachelor's degree in May of 2025. So this is 2 more years from the associate program. I've applied for paving the pathways program back in the spring and summer earlier this year. It started in March all the way through August. I learned about it because my VR counselor is they were in group meeting for Saturdays for 6 weeks. And they do stuff like soft skills to pay the bills and disability disclosure happens during March and April. Soft skills to pay the bills, for example, would include communication, enthusiasm, attitude, teamwork, and networking. Problem solving and critical thinking and professionalism are a few more. We have to watch some videos and talk about them as a group. And on the other hand, disability disclosure is the right to disclose whether to share your disability. Then the second phase was the business project, which happened in May and June. Students were placed in the groups around 6 people in 6 different groups doing a business project for a mentor. The different groups were Space Center Houston, which she and I, Sir Beth and I were in, Museum of Natural Science, which they won the competition, DLZP, a cybersecurity mentor, Whataburger, Harris Center, and aviation with the National Guard member at Ellington Field. The students met in groups for about 6 weeks, discussing the plan for the presentation and how they were going to present the business project. When we all presented the business project back in June, the first place was the Science Museum and the second place was Space Center. The top two, that was back in June, was the presentation. The top 2 places I mentioned above went in Moody Gardens and Galveston back in July for 3 days. They got to visit attractions, also got to shadow the employees for the day. For example, I got to shadow the guys at the theaters because I helped count the number of people who were at each film, and I also got to take a sneak peek where IMAX is, behind the scenes where IMAXs are made. And each film where they cleaned the sanitation station, where they cleaned the 3D and 4D glasses. The last thing I did there was to give a reflection of what I learned at Moody Gardens. The third phase was SEAL, the Summer Earn and Learn. It was a 5-week program that everybody that showed their jobs, what their summer jobs will be. Everybody had different stuff relating to their interests. I worked at the Houston TrainStar and helped with the city of Houston signal timing zones. It was a great experience because I got to share what my interests were on display maps and directions for the city of Houston. I appreciate TWC for giving me jobs in the summer because it gives me experience, but I'm older to take advantage of this experience. And then the extension that we learned from interacting in a group from paid work experience and presentations in the community. I learned how to present in the last TWC board meeting back on October 3rd and how to prepare for that meeting with Emily Brontek, who talked about how the presentation was going to be presented. I presented to the HGAC board meeting out in the other room. I previously stated earlier that I also presented back in Moody Gardens back in July, and June spoke in the business project from NASA. Now the last part, the comments on the college experience. I am the first cohort of the paramedic studies that launched 2 years ago, finished the associate's program back in May, and August started the bachelor's program, going all the way, the 4-year program goes all the way until May of 2025. Some of the recognitions that I received at the program or at the university was I just recently being selected for presidential ambassadors, which they give towards a UST to represent the school. At the graduation ceremony in May, I was a flag bearer for Colby School. I was honored back in April for my School of the Autism Awareness panel, which about my experiences live, about the program. And finally, for the bachelor's program, you gotta do a minor, which means the class, regular class in the university outside the paramedic studies program. Since my minor is business, right now, the class I'm taking this semester, I've been taking principles of management, and in the spring, I'm taking microeconomics. All right, that's it, guys.
Do we have any questions for Mr. Tommy?
So I have a question, and this is a question to both of you. I have a couple of questions for both of you, but the first one is, what is pragmatics?
Okay, so it's a program at St. Thomas, one of only 2 offered in the country for students, program for students with students in learning differences. So the students are placed in about a cohort, about 12 people, and go through their classes together, the same classes for 2 years. And it's a good experience. In fact, there's actually two across the country. There's actually one in Bellevue, Washington, outside Seattle. But they only do the 2-year program. But here at St. Thomas down the road, we're the only one in the country that expanded to the 4-year.
That's
Which
so
is
cool. That is very, very.
which is pretty nice. For students who want to get their 4 years of college, rather than 2 years, and I'll have to figure out the next 2 years. 4 years are just right there.
That's extremely cool. That's extremely cool. That's awesome. I don't know, it's kind of,
Literally, I was the first inaugural cohort 2 years ago, and she just started in August. But, literally the program is filling up fast. People are already calling in for next year already.
right place, right time, yeah.
Yeah,
It's like, I started 2 years ago, the inaugural cohort, the first one, and last year, the second cohort had 3 different cohorts. And then this year, they're about to start, they have 4 different cohorts. Literally, the program fills up so fast, they really have to do evening classes for some cohorts, because there's not enough space during the day. In fact, people are already calling up to do, program already for next August for the 4th cohort.
Sarah, did you have something to add to that?
I'm part of the evening class, but for next semester, I'm gonna do morning classes.
Oh, fabulous.
I got, right now it's like afternoon, mainly evening classes, but next semester I got a mix of morning and evening classes. They had to do evening classes like 5 to 7:30 because there's not enough teachers, not enough classrooms during the day. Just the demand was so popular.
I have a different question.
Yeah.
And it would also be for both Sarah and Tommy, is it sounds like you both went to summer earn and learn, so you
Yeah.
were earning money this summer, right?
We could earn money.
Yeah, so, tell us a little bit more about earning money, what it felt like, what did you do with the money?
Well, for my money, right now, I'm using it for Christmas presents for my family.
Oh, I wish I was part of your family. That's very nice. Thanks, Sarah.
Good gifts.
Yeah,
That's it, money for your car.
yeah.
How
Okay.
about you, Tom?
My money, crazy thing went fast. We already had, I'm just trying to figure out what I want, just buy out my Christmas presents now that the holiday shopping is in. And go shop a little more and go buy my stuff. And just excited that the earn money, you got to earn money, it's a good work experience. I think it was about $1,300 total is what Cheryl said or Lana said, the business project. So yeah, it's a good amount of money. I mean, it's like $13 an hour, so that's like twice the minimum wage, but it's a good opportunity to
Thank you.
get this opportunity. It's hard to come by and it doesn't last, take it while you have it. Any other things, guys? Any other questions?
What do you want to do in about 5 years?
Well, 5 years, I might be working on, finishing college on my transportation and urban planning degree area, and then I'll be working at the city of Houston. I actually went to Shadow this summer, they actually went out, at transfer, they went out to the field, and they got to work on some signal cabinet boxes and timings, and I actually got to work on they actually got to do some turn-ons where they had to take the old lights off and put the new lights in. And it was kind of nice, but sometimes it was just so hot, I literally had to wait a while, it was good for a while. Basically, also when I came, it was a nice experience, but the employees thought I came at the wrong time of year. Because they really thought summertime was light traffic and the weather is so hot outside, so it dictated what we did. Especially this past summer was like a record-breaking heat, it was just so, this whole year was just broke records, it was so hot. Weeks of triple digits and no rain.
That's a good, goal, in 5 years. What skills do you think you need to, pick up or improve on together?
Yes, social skills, but also like communication, organizing, time management, get all like networking, which is pretty good. I do drive, and so I'm able to get places, but, it's nice to get to go out in the city, get to go out different stuff, because you get to experience what the field offers. And in general, yeah, it's just good learning opportunities. I don't know a lot of people that do that. In fact, the year before I was not, this summer I was a Transtar, but last summer I was at the office in downtown working on the urban planning department. On like their planning projects, and then when I was working there, they were really doing some planning projects. One of the planning projects that my department did that was completed is in the Heights, the 11th Street bikeway, the bike lanes on 11th Street in the Heights. That was the project that one of the planning part of my projects were completed. And then 2 years ago, I was actually working at the sign fabrication shop, the back shop on Patterson, which is off of I-10 and Shepherd. They have a warehouse where they store all like the traffic cabinets and the stoplight and the signs and everything. It's a cool experience because it's like behind the scenes and it's closed off to the public, so you get to see behind the scenes and how they do it and how it's made. It's kind of cool. Someone's already called me for next summer to work on my boss from last summer, he's calling me, he asked me next summer if we want to work on the GIS, City of Houston's GIS department in downtown. So that's something to think about.
Yeah.
I can't believe it's already almost home stretch. Everybody's gonna be leaving for Christmas break pretty soon. All right, anything else?
Thanks, Tommy. Folks, any other questions or comments for Sarah Beth or Tommy?
For
Guys?
college, we have a 6-week break.
Oh.
The winter break, I like college, but winter break's a long time, that's what I can say.
I do have one last question, and that assistive technology is very important in people's lives. Do you have a device or an app that would help you at work?
Basically, I always like communication, like email or like written, just so it'd be easier. But no, I don't need like a mobility or like height or an ASL interpreter.
Oh,
Some kids in the VR would use that, but I don't use that.
I don't use technology for work.
okay.
Only if it's like emails or that stuff.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
If you don't mind, I'm going to move to the business partners and I would like to, is it time?
Yes, absolutely.
Right.
Right in there earlier.
I'm gonna stand for a second, because I'm going to reposition, our next guest that I'm so proud to have, and the first is Mr. Cornelius. And we put you there, but would you mind coming up here so that you can speak? Mr. Cornelius Booker, I've known for a long time, he's from NASA, the Office of Disability and Inclusion. He's also a previous customer of VR services. And comes from the Workforce Solutions, so he's not only been with us, we've worked together, here he is, and he's gonna speak to us. And then I'm gonna ask for Beth Pander from Whataburger to come, and I have a seat for you up here. And Mr. Marcus Booker, they happen to both be a Mr. Booker, so. If y'all would have a seat, and after Mr. Cornelius Booker speaks about his experiences, we're going to hear from these guests as well. So we'll let it flow. Take it away, Mr. Cornelius. Just say it.
Thank you so much. I didn't mean to have to move furniture around. I got it. It is what it is. It is a pleasure to be here speaking in front of you all. I'm excited to talk about my experience with TWC and the great experience that I've had over the years working with the program. And I'm gonna go back to where it all started. My wife was like, "What you gonna talk about?" I'm like, I don't know. I never know what I'm gonna talk about, so I go there because I want it to be genuine from my heart when I'm explaining about my experiences. I grew up in Jackson, Mississippi, and I was the youngest of a single mother of 4 kids. And so we had a lot of things that we wanted, but nothing that we really needed. She made sure that we had everything that we needed growing up. And I talk a lot about my mom when I do the presentation because I have so much admiration for her the things that she did to make sure that we all had what we needed and that we did what we were expected to do when we went to school. So, when I was 17, I was shot and paralyzed, and that turned my world upside down. So I realized, and it was an accident at home. My brother found a gun, brought it home, and said, "Hey, let me show you what I got." It didn't turn out too well for me, but it overall, it did turn out where it put me where I needed to be. And I realized that once you're going through something like that, you have to make changes in your life. You have to see things differently and do things differently, and that's what I had to do. And I realized one of the most important things about life is resources. Because my mom, as much as she wanted to give to us, she didn't know all the things to do. So she said, I don't know what to do. So the only thing she could do is ask other people. So my son is in the wheelchair. What does he need to do to go to work or to drive a car? Because I went through a rehabilitation center that was amazing. The rehabilitation center in Mississippi was outstanding. They had vocational rehabilitation where you learn how to do standard things like how to clean up your home and how to do things on your own. They had a physical therapy where you learn how to exercise and be healthy. But my favorite one was the sex therapy. You have to go through the sex therapist to learn how to have healthy relationships. And it didn't hurt that my sex therapist was a beautiful Black woman. I mean, like, why would you do that to me? And so she was amazing at her job, and she helped me. She helped me in all aspects of my life, not just the sex therapy part, but she understood exactly what I was going through, and she helped me overcome so many other personal challenges. And so she gave me a lot of the resources. She said, "You need to go to the vocational rehabilitation center in Mississippi." So I contacted them, and they were like, "Yeah, we got resources and we can help you." One of the things that they helped me do was learn how to drive. That was really scary because that was the first time I got behind the wheel and had to use hand controls, how I drive now. And I was driving and I turned the wheel this way when I was getting on the highway and across swerve across the whole highway. Luckily, nobody else was on the highway but me. And so she said, "Okay, we done for the day." So we went back to the center, and she said, "Okay, well, what else?" I learned how to drive. I learned how to. I enrolled in school and took some classes, and then the next part, she was like, "Well, after you get all of this, what is your next? What do you want to do next?" I said, "I just want to find a job that I can be successful." Okay, so I went to school, they helped me with my books and got me everything that I need to continue school. And then my mom said, "Hey, maybe you should go to Oklahoma." I'm like, "I'm so settled here." And I moved to Oklahoma, and they didn't have the resource that they had. They had vocational rehabilitation service, but they weren't as organized until I got here to Texas. And I worked the nerve, when I got here, I worked the nerve with my counselor, my TWC counselor. I called her almost every day. I said, "I need a job. I need a job. I need some controls on my car. I need some accessibility at my house because I just moved into a new house that had stairs." And she was like, "Well, I don't know what I can do for you." And I called her every day to get what I needed. She got me the job here at Workforce Solutions. And she said one of the most important things you can do is network. She created a network for me, and made sure that I attended all the hiring events, she looked at my resume on a regular basis. My skills didn't change, but my resume changed all the time based on the job. And so she made sure that I was prepared for the opportunities that was coming. She had a church to come to my house and build a ramp. And they didn't have a resource for that, but she made the calls that would needed. My counselor was amazing. And so I feel so, I know the hard work that these counselors put in for these clients. And I'm in awe at the work that they do. And it made me excited about when I was able to do the same thing. They said, "Okay, Workforce Solutions is hiring for a navigator." And one of the things that the navigator do is work in conjunction with the counselors to make sure that people with disabilities, when they come into the office, looking for employment, that they have the resources that they need so they can be successful. And so I was excited to do that, and that's when I was able to meet some of the great counselors and build strong relationships, not only at workforce, but also in the community. And it has been such a whirlwind for me to move about the community and get to where I am now. Even though I wasn't a employee, or I wasn't a customer of TWC when I got my job at NASA, I had the relationships. Someone called me, one of my counselors said, hey, they're hiring over at NASA for a equal employment opportunity specialist. What? That's not something I can do. She said, well, can you put your resume in today? I'm at work. I mean, it's like 4 o'clock. She's like, can you get in here by 5? I had to call my wife and say, hey, what are you doing? I need you to go onto my computer, put a resume together, put a cover letter together, and send it over to NASA ASAP. She said, I got you. She was at work also, but she was able to put it together and do everything. So they called me within the next couple of days and said, hey, you're just what we're looking for, and we want to set up an interview. I received that opportunity, it was as if it was ordained, because they called me and I was in the system within a month. And NASA hasn't hired anybody from the outside in years for that position. They were like, you are an anomaly, because you just came from an outside agency into our department, and that hadn't happened in like 20-something years. I said, well, I guess that's where I was supposed to be. And a lot of the successes that I have, I do pride Texas Workforce Solutions Vocational Rehabilitation Service, because they help me to overcome all the challenges. I feel like I can be an asset to the community because of what they give me, the resources that they allow me to have, and the tools that they equip me with. And it makes me able to give of all of me. Whenever Susan calls me, Susan knows I'm gonna say yes. Because Susan has been an amazing advocate of mine. Well, I don't know how long I've known Susan, but she's always been there. So I am so grateful for her and for Tashira and all the amazing people that I've come in contact with from TWC. ERS, so it's been an outstanding. I know I probably don't hold my time, but I'm just so grateful for what they've done and for the opportunity that I've had because of what they've done.
And we're so proud of you too, Mr. Booker. He's in a small prestigious office at NASA in the main campus. He's one of the big guys there. So we're proud of you for doing that, and I'm proud to have known you for all these years as well. So awesome. So he is one of our major contacts with NASA, and we look forward to, I've had the opportunity to go and meet the new director, Ms. Regina Amati, and have a conversation with her, sitting at a table face to face to see how we can continue this partnership. So working great. With us, we have 2 other partners that I'm so proud to have them with us. Thank you for coming today. I have Miss Beth Painter. She's from Whataburger. She's in talent acquisition. And boy, they do a lot of work with us. They are summer earn and learn. They are paving the pathways work sites. I'm gonna let her speak. And also Mr. Marcus Booker, and he is the Harris Health. You heard Ms. Gobert talk about Harris Health. Well, he's the one that is our partner in charge of the STEP program. So if you would each just tell us how you're interfaced with VR, and then we'll take it on. Ms. Panda?
So little backstory for me. In 2009, 2010, I met Cheryl Ito, and she got me involved with the Disability Inn now, Greater Houston Disability Inn. And little did I know what that all was gonna encompass, you know, she's like, yeah, it's just one meeting a month and a job fair a year or whatever, and so, that was kind of my foot in the door and her hook on me, and so, back then I was in recruiting with Randall's Food Market. And as time went on, just got more and more involved in disability hiring and with the disability in. And then a few years ago, 7, 8 years ago, Pathways was created, the program. And she came to me as well as all the other businesses that were involved as business mentors and said, hey, we're starting this project. How, you know, would you like to be involved? And of course, you know, whatever wants to be involved. And so we chose some business mentors and they set up their dates and their mentorship and their team. And it was just amazing. It truly, over the 7, 8 years, has changed the culture in some of our restaurants, the awareness, the openness to hiring people with disabilities, that they see talent like they've never saw it before. And the projects have been so cool. I know one year the team did a app where they created a game to earn points, which is so funny because it was before Whataburger even had an app. And now we have games to earn points, so yeah, I don't think that's coincidental. But they came up with it first, and then another year they created a shake, an orange shake, and everywhere we'd go after that for the next couple months, that people had heard about the project would say, hey, when's that orange shake coming? But it was pretty cool, and one of the most memorable, I think, experiences with that was, and I think I remember, I think the young man's name was Steven. He was on the team that did the app, and in the beginning, Steven wouldn't even make eye contact. He would look at the floor and, you know, look everywhere but at you. There was such a lack of confidence, and as the program went on, as the 6 weeks of the mentorship went on, he just started to open up and blossom. And when they gave their presentation, like, it just, the whole room, you know, just lit up because how he had changed from the beginning to the end and how that can change somebody's life in such a short amount of time, giving them the confidence to stand up and speak in front of 100 people and their families and other businesses was just amazing, and it touched my heart so much. And the operators that we brought to see that, the presentations, they were just changed forever. They took the bait, you know, drank the Kool-Aid or whatever you wanna call it, or the orange shake, and they were on board from then on out. And so every year we waited for Cheryl's call that we're starting again, and we would be able to select another unit or 2 units to host the teams. And then finally, not this year, but last year, Whataburger took home the prize, and that was so exciting. The kids did such an amazing job. And throughout those years, we've been able to hire some of the students and bring them in as family members, and that's the goal, right? To have them join our team. And so it's always just been a worthwhile experience, both working with Cheryl through Disability In and the Pathways Project. We look forward to it every year and hopefully for years and years to come.
Thank you. And can we please hear from you and your company with us, Mr. Booker?
Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for this invitation. My name is Jamarcus Booker. I'm a volunteer manager over at Harris Health System. And so this particular partnership definitely predates me. I joined the organization almost 2.5 years ago. As a former educator, I came out director, just simply love the idea of matching me up with this particular partnership. And also with my past experience supporting individuals with disabilities. And so it's been great. We've had a great time simply working and interfacing with our customers, getting them in, just simply trying to match them up with their interests across the healthcare system. As Ms. Gobert mentioned, mentioned earlier, Gobert, I'm sorry, mentioned earlier, we are the county's healthcare system. And we're currently interfacing and working with hundreds of patients, also matching those customers with those particular opportunities in our organization. So super excited about that and looking forward to answering the questions you all may have.
Awesome, thank you. So, the question that I have for you collectively is, tell us, how the business has actually benefited the culture of your organization. And Ms. Painter, alluded to that too. But, could the rest of you please respond of how your business culture changes and benefits from including people with disability?
Well, if I could start off, I'll simply say that's just simply who we are at Harris Health System. We've already created a DEI department that has strategic goals in supporting this particular community. But it's simply who we are. I'm managing the volunteer team back at the hospital, but I'm not even within our HR department. But we are working in partnership with our HR department to ensure these individuals have an opportunity beyond this particular program. So we're excited about that. It's who we are. There are DEI strategic goals set already in place to ensure these individuals have a place with us, but also just ensure that they're successful with us as well. And so that's simply just my answer there. It's who we are and what we do.
How about NASA?
NASA is committed to ensuring that everybody has access to space. And one of the things that they're committed to right now is ensuring that a person with disability is going into space on our next flight. So they have a 2040 goal to make sure that a person who is a wheelchair user or has some kind of physical disability is able to get into space. So they're excited about that. And my role at NASA is equal opportunity specialist. And one of the things that I do is we ensure that every department is hiring someone with a disability and that they are being inclusive in everything that we do. So all our documents are accessible to someone who has a disability, whether it's a physical disability or not. We make sure that all of our documents are accessible. And it's difficult when I'm working with, because also one of the things I do is I deal with discrimination in the various departments. So if someone feels discriminated against, they come to me. And so I'm having a challenge when I have to talk to someone who's been in NASA for 35 years and tell them, hey, you're discriminating against this person. They're like, no, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm here all the time. I know what I'm doing. No, this person feels discriminated against, and I have to correct you and tell you what you need to do. And they don't like it, but that's my job, and they have to accept it. So I'm high enough to say, hey, you're out of line, and they gotta get in line. So that's one of the parts I like about my job. Is also ensuring that NASA is focusing a lot more on the Schedule A program where we're hiring people with disabilities. And I'm at the forefront of that to make sure that every department knows about Schedule A and how to use Schedule A, because I was actually hired under the Schedule A. And so it's important for everybody to know that Schedule A is a quick way to hire somebody with the skills and the talent that you're looking for. And so also that's one of the many things that I'm spearheading in NASA, and I'm excited about that. But we also have what we call the NOBO Employee Resource Group, which is called NOBO, which is short for No Boundaries. That's where people with disabilities are able to come together and talk about ways that NASA can improve its accessibility as far as being on site, make sure that NASA tours are more accessible, that NASA programs are more accessible. So everything that we do at NASA is trying to move forward and to be more progressive. And my job is to make sure that accessibility is included in that.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Whataburger, I guess, same question, about the same question.
Sure.
This is good, this is like a panel, that this is, and by the way, this is topic very near and dear to my heart, so. I have good questions. Well, not good discussions, good discussions.
Yeah, that's why, I just have one more for them and then we'll open it to the floor if you don't mind. I just wanted to ask them, what's been your best experience working with VR? If you had to come up with one best experience, who would it be?
So I can answer that. So, I mentioned the Whataburger team that won, last year. There was a young lady that was looking for employment, that bridge employment until she could, go to college the next year. And she really wanted to work at Whataburger. She thought it would be a great fit for her. So I got with her and I got her to apply at the closest Whataburger to her house. And unfortunately, I don't think it was a very good fit, beside the fact that they didn't have the hours to give her for the position that she would fit. So I think we didn't let that stop us. We found out what the next closest Whataburger was to her. I got with her mom and can she go to this Whataburger? And I went beforehand and spoke to the operating partner and explained to her what the type of positions that she was interested in and that she could do. And just that we did all the pre-work, I got with our counselor, we sent the job descriptions over, we said, look, can you verify that she could do all the functions of this job? And because we wanted success, we wanted to go into it with this is gonna work, we can get this young lady employed. And it turned out so well because the operating partner at that restaurant was so open and so ready to hire her. And it was for a dining room hostess where she did all kind of interactions with the customers, and this young lady was visually impaired. But she could do everything within that job description, which I thought was so wonderful to begin with. But also she was creative. She was she did, I forgot the type of design, she did. So this operating partner put her in charge of all our recognition boards, and she created all kinds of artwork for the store. She started a Facebook group with the employees and used her creativity. So not just the actual physical work that she could do, she just encouraged the team, and it was such a win-win. But if we had stopped at, oh, this restaurant that's close to you isn't gonna work, some other company might have got her, but we wanted her, So I think just the the persistence and working with the counselors and that relationship, that's what got us through the finish line with her.
Thank you.
I will also say just the best experience has definitely been working with Fernando and Maisha, ever since. Of course, they didn't tell me to say that, but it's truly, just managing this partnership has been great working with them as my partners on this side. I heard earlier that we've actually hired on 5 of our customers, and so we're super excited about that. I think that's the best experience, offering this opportunity, finding an actual placement for these individuals, and now they're going on to earn and make great money and definitely be just a great asset to our organization. So we're really excited about that.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And that's what it's all about at the end, people getting their jobs and enjoying their jobs. So thank you so much for being open and for hiring our people. Do you have a question?
Yeah, I wanted to switch that. Tell you, actually, back in March, the Houston Chronicle, they literally had my program on the newspaper. They don't read about it.
Awesome. Yeah, let's open it up for a bit of a questions and discussion. Let's go with Jordan first, and then Daniel will come to you.
Okay. Can y'all hear me? Yes? Okay. I always make sure when I'm on Zoom. So my question and it's for all 3 of you. I'm getting feedback for some reason. But the question is, so I'm glad y'all have partnered with TWC VR, But that being said, many consumers with TWCVR have intellectual and developmental differences. And some of those consumers also have sensory processing disorders, whether it be tactile dysfunction or proprioceptive dysfunction. What are y'all doing to ensure y'all have the knowledge around those different things and the very specific support needs that have to be provided in order for them to be able to do their job? Because this is something that I train on because I have IDD myself.
I'll go ahead and start. As far as NASA, what we do is we ultimately build relationships with outside organizations that have more information than we do. One of the other things that I'm in charge of at NASA is reasonable accommodation to accommodate all our employees that have various disabilities. And so I work with different organizations that have the resources that we need. And we also encourage our employees to tell us exactly what they need so we can make sure that we have what they need so they can be successful at their job. And one of the things we tell them that money is an issue. So just tell us exactly what your needs are and we will get you the resources that you need so you can be successful. And if it's coming on site every day or working from home to be successful, that's what we're willing to do. And so we encourage our employees to be advocate for themselves and let us know what their needs are. And also work with outside organizations that have the resources that we may not have access to. So we're pretty strong on building relationships. So if there's an organization that can bridge the gap between what we need and what we don't have, and that's what we're willing to do. So every employee knows to contact me or my counterparts so we can get what they need, and so that everybody can be successful. So we encourage employees to be active advocates and let us know what they need so we can accommodate them.
Awesome.
I would also say the same. We certainly work internally with multiple departments to ensure that we are providing all the tools and resources needed to be successful on the job. And I do work hand in hand with Fernando, my agent, to ensure that prior to even interfacing with our interns, we are having those conversations up front about what's needed to ensure that we have exactly those resources and tools at our office, whether virtually or in person. But we definitely have experienced situations like these before, and we've come out on the other side victorious. And so, great question, though. I think that's something we all definitely talk about, providing those technologies and assistive tools and resources needed.
About the social aspect.
Do we have any other questions?
I kind of had a follow-up question to that because the way y'all answered that had me think of this. So it's great y'all have processes in place to support people with the disabilities, but what kind of training do y'all give your employees without disabilities so that they better understand certain behaviors that are characteristic with certain disabilities like autism or other sensory processing issues? Like, for example, someone with proprioceptive dysfunction, they seek deep pressure when they are overstimulated. So they might constantly be seeking like hugs from coworkers. And to some people, if they're not understanding what is behind that behavior, that can lead to a whole lot of issues if you understand what I'm talking about from a work environment. And so what are y'all doing to ensure that y'all are covering that aspect as well so that employees with disabilities are not wrongfully accused?
Good question. So, and I'll build on that, Jordan. It's absolutely brilliant and necessary to provide accommodations to the actual folks with disabilities, employees with disabilities, and candidates with disabilities, of course. But also, what, you guys are doing? And this is really probably what you guys are doing as some best practices. So what are you guys doing to, make the environment friendly to the employees and candidates? Okay, workforce.
Yeah, well, I'll start off by saying that, yes, I typically facilitate and lead those trainings, to ensure that, our, employees are aware, also just simply prepared. We do bring in other, partners, internally to support, me with ensuring that, hey, we know exactly, once we make those placements, who's working in certain areas and also the tools and resources that are needed to ensure that person is successful. And so, yeah, that's simply what we're doing. Typically, these meetings are held every quarter. That's typically when we do welcome in our new interns. And so, but also just in general for outside of this particular program, we do have volunteers and employees who come in with disabilities. And so ensuring that our DEI department is also at the front of that particular effort as well, ensuring that we have those resources as well. So about 3 or 4 different departments have come together every quarter to ensure that these needs are being met and these conversations are being had and everyone's pretty much on the same page internally. Great question, though.
Thank you. I would like to say that,
I think I want to.
that during my recruiting and hiring trainings with my frontline managers, we do cover that as well. And the HR department during their trainings, they do cover it to an extent, but we are working with VR to set up a specific training for us to train the trainer type of a situation with 1,000 restaurants, 164 in my region. It's difficult to get the message down to that unit level.
Yeah.
To do a train the trainer type of session, we're working on that now. If that's good.
Dan?
Thank you. Any other questions? Oh.
I think I'd like to ask a question. This is Glenda. I'm in Austin. Tagging on to what's just been said, I think socialization is a real issue in the workplace. It's not so much about the specificity, sometimes about the disability. It's just generally being included as just another person who's working there trying to do a job, but with the, and I think it kind of taps into what has already been discussed. But one of the concerns that I think we find is, people's hesitancy to engage with people who have various disabilities, blindness, the types of things that other, people have already discussed.
Yeah. Dan?
Thank you all for each of you. I've been in your organization. Like how many employees?
Wow. We actually cover the entire Harris County area. And so I think recently we have over 5,000 employees. And so 2 huge hospital systems, over 350 bed capacity hospital systems here in the county, a plethora of same-day clinics, mobile units, school-based clinics. We're pretty much in every nook and cranny of Harris County. And so over 5,000 employees, yeah.
That's right. You got a walking back there?
Yes, in our nearly 1,000 restaurants, will be 1,000 by the end of the year. 55,000.
Wow.
Here in Houston, I would say average of, in every restaurant, maybe 50 to 75, some up to 100 per restaurant.
And now, sir?
That's we have 13 locations throughout the United States. And Johnson Space Center, we have approximately 3,000 employees at Johnson Space Center. whether they're on site or work from home. And it's fairly same amount at various centers. So I think our smallest center may be in Mississippi, which has about 500 employees. But they pretty much just do administrative things out there, but each center generally has about 3,000 employees.
I could remember you said, I've always wanted to go to NASA to become an astronaut.
Yeah, and that's why we're looking to make sure that the astronaut program is more inclusive. Because to be an astronaut, it takes a lot. You know, the training is ridiculous. I've seen it firsthand. I'm like, who want to do that? It's long and it's too much work, and they don't pick but a few people every time. So it seems like it's too much for me, but it's something that they definitely want to make sure that everybody can be an astronaut. And so I tell people, any of you guys want to be an astronaut, apply to be an astronaut. They take anybody. They take application. And people like, I can't be an astronaut.
I'm always astronaut candidate.
It's a lot of work. You want to do it.
So,
So first I'm gonna put you guys on the spot a little bit. But I promise, I am going to do this. All large organizations, very, very, very large, very successful corporate entities. Now is where I'm gonna put you guys on the spot. Who in your company is the highest ranking by titles? Vice president, C-suite, SVP, director. Who is the highest ranking person that either has a physical visible disability or openly disclosed hidden disability? What is that? I don't really name the person. I'm looking for the title of the person or the level of the person.
We have a senior VP of HR who is visually impaired. She actually became extremely visually impaired while on the job. And they have accommodated her. Amazing.
Good. Who's under her? Who's the second? Who's the second? That's why I mean, I'm gonna put you guys in the spot. Gentlemen, who's the highest?
Yeah, I'm actually thinking through that now. I actually think I'd say the same. There's a senior VP of talent and management, not particularly HR, but he's pretty much managing our externships programs with UT and Baylor. But he's the senior VP of talent and management.
And for last?
Ooh, it may be our associate director. She's also our advocate for our department. She's directly below the director at NASA. And she has a mild form of autism since she says it came out when she was a teenager. So she's the highest ranking person. She's the second highest ranking.
Never wanted to be an astronaut.
Yeah.
I always wanted to be the person in the command center, right? And then at some point head of NASA. But I never wanted to be in outer space. So the reason I asked the question is at some point it becomes a game of numbers. We're talking about organizations with tens of thousands of employees. And for any person, so in general, for there to be a successful ecosystem that is welcoming to employees with various forms of disabilities, anything really that makes us different, because we're all different. It's just a matter of how different and along what dimension, but we're all different. But in order for there to be a welcoming ecosystem that attracts and supports growth of all humanity. You need enough folks that have lower levels of organization, but you also need enough folks throughout all levels of organization. The Amy Corporation, it's like it's a Christmas tree, right? You have one CEO, you know, just a few C-suite, you have a bunch of SVPs, you have a bunch more directors, you have a whole lot of managers and supervisors and a lot of individual contributors. That's normal, right? And in order for there to be a successful ecosystem, you need to have representation at all levels. And most companies start struggling at probably right around supervisor. There's a good breadth of attracting folks with disabilities into the company, but at some point they start sputtering out. They're not getting promoted. They lose hope because they don't really see any role models inside, not allies, not advocates, but role models. And a hugely talented person who's skilled with numbers, who's in the finance department, at some point will say, okay, well, I can never be head of finance, I can never be head of FNA, I can never be CFO, because there's nobody above me that can be a role model, that can be and at some point it comes down to a game of numbers. The more folks we can bring to the company, the more hope that you will be able to build and support this. So game of numbers, right? And then there's a game of numbers. Yeah, fantastic support, providing accommodations. We heard a lot of really good practices on creating that friendly environment. Brilliant, but game of numbers at the end of the day. And here I think is where TWC and VR division can be even more impactful. So like I said, I promise I'm gonna put you guys on the spot, but then I'm gonna bring this somewhere. Where do you think TWC, and we have Mr. Turner here, so this is not just VR division, but we are lucky enough with Ann with us. So where can TWC and VR division or VR division, please take this opportunity to provide us feedback in as specific or general as you want. Where can we do better to provide skills, provide training, anything we can do better that we can give you more numbers to hire from?
Well, my background is in recruitment. And so a question that I typically have, is, Houston is a very diverse city. And so I'm wondering, in certain cases, about that diversity. You know, I am a product and a graduate of the historically Black college and university out of New Orleans, Louisiana. But I think about the other historically Black colleges and also minority serving institution colleges across the country. And so I wonder about recruitment from that aspect. Wondering if there's an opportunity to perhaps partner with those particular organizations to pull and recruit, create a pipeline of students or interns from that particular demographic. But from what I've seen, honestly, these two and a half years of working in the Harris Health System, there has been a good deal of interns that we worked with who come in with a good level of skill set and confidence. I think part of my battle on my end is definitely ensuring that my employees are comfortable and prepared and willing to work with this particular demographic. But then I'll just simply go back and say, I don't want to say that's where you should be, you know, working toward, or that's what you should be doing, but I'm just asking for consideration from this particular population as well. There are other young guys and gals who look like me coming from these institutions who may also benefit from opportunities such as this as well.
Okay, so net a little wider. We're trying to bring more folks into the VR program from, for example, historically black colleges and universities.
Yeah.
Good thought.
I would say, from our perspective, is one thing that NASA always focuses on is STEM engagement. We do a lot of recruiting from the, institutions that focus on science, technology, engineering, and math. So when we go to these colleges, we want people that have the skill that we're looking for. So make sure that a lot of the participants that, if you will want to apply for a position, at NASA, we do have a summer program that focuses on a lot of STEM, educational institutions. So that's where we generally go recruit. And if you have some people that fit in that particular category, let us know. Because that's where the pathway program that we pull from are coming from. And so it's about building a relationship with those particular programs and those schools so that when we're looking at, your students are part of the batch that we're pulling from. And so that's where we make sure that they have the skill that we're looking for. STEM is a big thing right now. It's going into STEAM as well, to make sure that that's what we're looking for. And so if you can get students in those programs and give them information about how to apply. And now, so we have we have two summer programs that we recruit for every year. We have the Pathways program, which is a paid program that allows people to, similar to the Earn and Learn, that you get paid while you're learning. And then we have another program, which is, it slips my mind, but we do have these two summer programs that come about every year. And we try to pull from different schools, and if your students are in those schools that we pull from, then there's a great chance they can be selected. So make sure that they're geared toward the STEAM and the STEM background.
Sorry.
The other thing, that really comes to mind is that we typically hire people at part-time. So that's, it honestly is a big obstacle when working, except for team leaders and managers and above position, it is part-time, so we focus more on high school age kids. And there doesn't seem to be a lot of job fairs or pipeline of that age, and that's typically where we hire from, so that would be, I see that as a gap.
What about the corporate roles for the
Yes, the majority of our corporate roles are in San Antonio. So we do get a lot of internship opportunities for there and job opportunities for San Antonio. People have to be willing to relocate. We do have a small amount of remote positions. All the support positions in Houston, there's a few, training, HR, our maintenance department, those are the things, yes. So those are full-time.
And anything we our division or the ABC can do to open more doors, bring.
And they do a great job of making us aware of hiring events. So no, other than maybe specifically high school age job fairs, targeting that. But a lot of times, even the summer programs, they require it full-time hours. And so it kind of kicks us out, or a wage of 15, and we can't guarantee a $15 an hour wage. I mean, we pay well, maybe 12, 13, but not 15. So it also kicks us out of that.
Limitations of the industry.
I'll also say a lot of this, as we all know, all the skills are, that they're transferable. They could transcend various industries, and so Maisha and Fernando have done a great job with simply getting us some folks who have those transferable work skills. They might not have that medical or healthcare background, but we do see certain areas where we could actually find great placements for them. And so I'd say keep up that work of just simply getting us folks who do have those transferable work skills. And that's something we pride ourselves on, is simply trying to find a perfect fit for them and work with them while and when they're in the program with us. But no, we've received some really good talent.
Any other questions or topics for a brilliant panel? This is fantastic.
No, I have a question. And this is for Cornelius. A few years back, I think is pre-pandemic, so it may not even apply anymore. US Department of Labor issued a statement that they were encouraging federal employers to hire a certain percentage of people with disabilities. It was like, I don't know, 5, 6, 7%, something like that. Was that ever attained, or was there data retained at the federal workplace? And do you still do that?
Yes, we do. We, one of the federal requirements is to have at least 2% of the employees have a target disability and 12% have a disability back, a diagnosed disability. And that is still the target. We do a report every year. Each happens if it's not met, there's no penalty or anything like that. It's not a requirement, it's a suggestion. And it's a strong suggestion that, we meet those particular numbers. And NASA has not met those numbers. Various centers have met those numbers, because each center has to indicate if we met those numbers. But we're all very close. And then we also have to indicate why we didn't meet those numbers. And so those are one of the reasons that we're making strides on reaching that particular percentage that we're trying to reach. And that's one of the goals that I've been tasked with is working with HR to meet those particular goals with Schedule A hiring, and make sure that people with disability aren't just working there, but they're also disclosing that they have a disability. And we've seen a uprise in those numbers after the pandemic, because people didn't want to come back to work, so now they have a disability and they say, hey, I can't come back to work. You had a disability all the time, but now you have a disability because you don't want to come back to work, so our numbers went up. And so that's an issue now.
It's all in the data, right?
Yeah, right. Okay, so we're good, we're meeting our numbers, but now we're trying to encourage, hey, if you do have a disability, don't just disclose it when you need a reasonable accommodation. But when you're hiring, it helps us to ensure that, we are being inclusive in all our actions and activities, because we know how many people that with disability that we have to cater to in the event. So we encourage them to disclose it. And also we encourage our HR departments to hire people with disabilities. And so we do have an annual requirement that you have to go through this training every year. And that's one of the things that I was hired for, to do the trainings, to inform them of the disability resources that are out there. And so I do the training annually, and there's also a program that we have that if you don't want to wait for me to do the training, I have it online, so you can go and look at the training anytime you want to. And that's one of the requirements as well. So we do have a requirement of a number, where it's not a requirement, we have a suggested amount of percentage of people that we have to hire with disabilities.
Question, but do people have to disclose? I mean, normally you don't really have to, right? If it's, yeah.
Right, no.
So you might have more people working there who have a disability and.
I guarantee you,
Right.
they're just not comparable.
Yeah. And that's understandable. That's another reason that we have certain programs. We do a lot of activities to encourage people to disclose. If you have a disability, we have a resource fair that we do every year to inform people of the resource that's out there to accommodate your disability. If you do need an accommodation, let us know. Meet your accommodation so that you won't wait to the last minute and say, no, I don't want to lose my job because I can't do it like I used to. Just let us know what we can do to accommodate you, because if you need an accommodation, you will have to disclose why you need that accommodation.
Or maybe even the perception, right? The perception that, because I have X, Y, and Z, I'm not able to get hired on or promoted. We actually do have a former TWC intern who's currently working with us now, who did not disclose. And for her own right, simply not wanting to disclose because of just fear of the perception. And so to your point, she's actually, was a bit hesitant initially, but now, okay with sharing that and also helping us, facilitate trainings with our new interns. And so, that's a great point. But I think there comes a certain point where folks have to feel simply comfortable, and not fear that, being shunned upon, if you will.
That's what we're limiting to disclose.
Yeah.
And because we also do, another thing that we're starting up, we have a report to say how many African Americans we hire, how many Asians we hire, how many people with disabilities. So that's a report that's coming out and going out to all the departments as well, so anybody can access it, internally or externally, say, hey, what's going on over at NASA?
Yeah.
And so just us being transparent to everybody is also helping us to be more inclusive as well.
You did that champions at all the levels. How I started my soapbox here. You did that ecosystem where people are comfortable that having disability or disclosing a disability is not good with and even now that's not the case. Most companies. You need to champion executives, managers, directors, respected visual contributors at all levels, that disability doesn't define that profession. Right. That's not your limiting at all. That's what you said.
Yeah, and if I can, one thing I didn't mention earlier, Harris Health System has employee resource groups, and we actually do have an employee resource group that is targeted towards individuals with disabilities. And so, and it's not just individuals who have disabilities that are actually on that particular council, but they host events around awareness, but also just around debunking that particular perception, that myth that they are not able to get the job done. They're actually showing us that they actually can do it. And they've been doing it well for quite some time. So ERGs are also another resource and tool that we use at Harris Health System as well.
Guys, thank you so much. Dana, had another question?
No, thank you so much. I want to thank
Sorry, no,
everyone.
read that because there's less time.
We got another.
We're past your lunch.
So speaking with another employer who has hired quite a few people with individuals with disabilities in his workforce, he said that one of his big challenges is transportation, getting people to the job. And I was wondering if that impacts your workforce at all and what kinds of solutions have you saw?
Well,
I
I'm hoping there's a raise or promotion for Maisha and also for But we honestly have, as you can imagine, COVID has just thrown us all into a whirlwind of just the unknown. We've worked together, partnering hand in hand to ensure that our customers, the interns simply have transportation, whether it's through Uber, Metro, Lyft. We've been having those types of conversations with our interns prior to joining us. Are there any challenges? Let us know. Don't be afraid to let us know. But yes, we worked really well ensuring our customers simply have that transportation to and from, but also virtual format as well. But yes, that has been a challenge that we've done well, I think, right?
I think just talking about it upfront.
Yeah.
Really needs to challenge.
Yeah.
So, when it's not talked up front, that's when things start getting clunky. But with Harris Health, we just call it all on the table and we look at it. And so that's how we sort it out. So
and we had issues with NASA with transportation. One of the issues that we have, because we're so far out here in the middle of nowhere, so Metro doesn't drive out there, so they have to get private transportation. And my new director, who happens to have a disability as well, she doesn't drive, so she had to find. And the issue that we had was you need a certain clearance to get onto our site. So you have whoever your driver is has to be the same person, because we can give them clearance to bring you on site. And so it can become expensive when you have to pay for a personal driver to take you back and forth. And so that's something that we're dealing with right now. One of our former employees, Mr. Tracy Nish, he had his spouse bring him back and forth. And he was like, yeah, that's convenient for me. But, for another employee that may be inconvenient. And so that's something that was recently brought up and that we're addressing now. I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah, that's something that we're actually addressing now.
I haven't really heard that that's too much of an issue, but I think that goes back to the bulk of our employees are students, and so their parents are arranging rides, so. I haven't really been an issue.
It's usually pretty local for Whataburger.
Yeah, right, they can walk to work.
No, the culture that Whataburger has built as an employer has been for decades, so I'm really very appreciative of a wonderful, wonderful experience.
Guys, thank you so much. At the end of the day, I think Susan said it, without employers, none of this matters. So brilliant to hear from you guys, brilliant to hear, to learn from you as well. Thank you. We had one agenda item. Ms. Rita Weintraub, can you give us an update on the state annual plan?
Hi, good morning,
Yeah,
everyone.
there you go. Yeah, you're good.
Great, well, good morning. Thank you for having me this morning. I wanted to provide you all with an update on the VR portion of the WIOA Combined State Plan. It continues to work its way through the long approval process. And I just wanted to thank you again for attending our state plan work sessions in August and for providing your feedback and recommendations. On November 10th, Lisa Godwin forwarded an email to you from Kimberly Stanfill on my team with an update to the combined state plan. So since RSA issued a technical assistance curricular 2401, we have made an update to the plan. And that includes conforming edits to align with this technical assistance. So we have clarified the ratio of qualified vocational rehabilitation counselors to VR customers. The ratio is 1 QVRC for every 102 customers. We've also clarified our qualified vocational rehabilitation standards in accordance with the guidance. TWC VR considers VR counselors qualified to perform non-delegable duties. That would be including making eligibility determinations and signing individualized plans for employment based on minimum initial standards for hire and based on successful completion of required training and an initial 6-month probationary period that allows demonstration of performance. The minimum initial standards for hire that we have are aligned with 34 Code of Federal Regulations 361, as well as the State of Texas VR Counselor Classification Schedule. It takes a minimum of 6 months to complete probation, during which time a qualified vocational rehabilitation supervisor or a qualified VRC designated by a supervisor will approve the counselor's eligibility determinations and IVEs to ensure appropriate decision-making, documentation, and application of knowledge. So that was the update to the combined state plan that we had emailed to you on November 10th. We had also updated the State Rehabilitation Council composition to include updates to the council based on appointments and reappointments on October 31st. We do have one more update that will be coming to the combined state plan. So the agency is taking a bit more time to work on the core part of the state plan, which sits outside of the VR portion. So we're taking the opportunity to update our annual estimate section based on fiscal year 2023 data, rather than what we have in there now, which is based on fiscal year 2022, which was what we had available earlier this year. But now that we have more updated data, we'll be updating that section and then recirculating that to you as well. So that's my update on the combined state plan. Did y'all have any questions?
Yeah, Rita, this is Karen. Can you remind us when the estate plan is gonna go out for public comment for those who might be listening in on this meeting?
Absolutely. That date has been updated to December 12th, and it'll be posted for public comment December 12th through January 12th for 30 days.
Thanks.
Any other questions for that?
Will there be any other, point in our agenda where we discuss the state plan itself?
No, nothing.
Well, I do have a question because this is Noreen. How are you? In reading the state plan and what was sent out, I noticed there wasn't anything in the state plan in regards to the audits. And wondered if there was a place that talked about how VR is received with auditing, programs and services as a part of the state plan. Is that appropriate?
So to reiterate, you're asking if the state plan contains information about auditing?
Audits and how they receive the selection for an audit, what is the process in regard to audits? In my opinion, audits really impact programs and services where the boots meet the ground. And so it's kind of a part of the overall process. And so whether or not that belongs in the state plan in terms of how we approach audits and why audits occur and who drives that and how it's driven. And it's more of a question than a recommendation. It's just something that I found missing in what I read.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. This is Cheryl Fuller. I'd be happy to answer that question. Good morning, Ms. Gale. The combined state plan contains sections prescribed in the planning guidance from the Rehabilitation Services Administration. And the discussion of audits is not part of the plan. However, you're right, that's an important part of our program and affects our decisions as far as how we improve our internal controls, how we improve our overall performance. Would be happy to discuss that, provide an update on that separately, but it's not a section listed for the combined state plan.
Thank you, Sloan.
So a better place where it's to essentially somewhere else. And where that's actually a really good question. Where should it live?
Yeah.
Where does it live right now? If not the state plan.
Well, can I just ask a quick question? This is Ed Sarin, PwC, the executive director. I heard what you asked, but I'm kind of wondering, are you talking about an auditing of the vocational rehabilitation program that's run by TWC, or an auditing of the various programs that we have and the performance of the providers, which is kind of two different things.
It is two different things, yeah.
And the agency itself, of course, has an internal audit group. The state auditor reviews different aspects of the agency, which include vocational rehabilitation. And then RSA, the federal agency, our oversight agency, also conducts random reviews or audits of the program. So those exist. I think the bigger challenge is setting up a comprehensive plan for monitoring the providers of those organizations that we provide funding to determine how they're performing. We do have, TWC does have a subrecipient monitoring. Of course, VR doesn't issue grants, so we would have to create a different structure, but we have a subrecipient monitoring group that performs, we don't call them audits, but they're basically monitoring reviews of the funding that we provide through work on the workforce side. I think some of call the same thing, but the workforce grants to determine the effectiveness and the use of those funds. And maybe this conversation, and I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, Mary, but maybe the conversation is about, one, we probably should explain all the audits that TWC VR undergoes, and then discuss the funding that goes out to serve our customers and how to review the effectiveness at that point, you know, that's sort of the point where it touches the customer, provides the service. A challenge that we have a lot of times is in just the scope of it. If you think about it, the amount of money, the variety of services. But I think if we started, Mr. Chairman, of course, if we started a conversation to say, these are the things that we believe we, the TWC and the RCT, the program, that we should be looking at, that then we would be able to say, okay, well, here's how we would structure that program. We would structure it like our subrecipient monitoring program or benefits analysis program. We have several review programs. There is also, just so that all of you all are aware, going back to the reviews that VR and other departments in the agency undergo, we have a division that's dedicated to focusing on those things. And there's one that they just completed a very high level kind of review of vocational rehabilitation division in compliance with certain statutes. So we go through that exercise as well. So I think, Mr. Chairman, what might be beneficial, and Cheryl, maybe, you know, you and I can talk about it, but it's putting together a high level overview of the reviews, the audits. They're not all just called audit, that's kind of it's a public descriptor, but in the bureaucracy, there are all these different things. But the reviews, the audits, the monitoring, and maybe we provided an overview to the, to this committee or this council, then it might give you all a better understanding of what we're looking at, how we're looking at it, and then maybe help us determine how to take some of that review to that next, I point down, but to that next level down in the service provision, the actual sort of boots on the ground that are providing the service. Is that kind of?
Yeah, well, you're correct. I mean, I was looking more at that, service delivery.
And that's what I was hearing.
And so having that explanation of the month, you know, that there's all these different, quite a few layers.
Right.
Of both reviewing this and monitoring, as well as audit, and the comptroller probably gets involved, so for a long period.
And not so much the controller, but the state auditor reports directly to the legislature, our own internal audit that reports directly to the commission, not to me. And then our, fraud detection and compliance monitoring division that reports directly to me and nobody else. Yeah, we put all of our divisions through a whole lot of review. And then one last thing, I think Cheryl said it very, very succinctly, but just to make sure everybody understood, this annual report, the format and structure of it is dictated very specifically, and that's not the only one. There are several other reports like that from the Department of Labor, Department of Education. We deal with several federal agencies, and what they call an annual report in the business, we wouldn't necessarily call an annual report. It's just a sort of a regrinding of the numbers or a presentation of the numbers. But we would be interested in exploring how we can better get our message out, which is really what people think about in an annual report. A corporate annual report is, you know, these are all the great things that we did last year, the use of our funds, and it is less a bureaucratic exercise. And I don't mean to take away Rika from all the work that she does and the importance of this, but basically it's here's the format, fill in the blanks, make sure you got the section, don't skip a section, so that'll get you a black tick mark or something.
Yeah,
So,
no, we'll throw it out there.
I'm sorry for all of that.
No, it's good, it's clearly not an annual plan, but it did raise a discussion, and I agree either at the next, meeting or the beginning of next, conversation about call it whatever you want to call it, of course, management and affiliation, all mean pretty much the same thing. It'd be great to understand how they're working out, this main pieces of the puzzle, that will come together, and perhaps what's working, what's not working, and where we need to sharpen up to make it more
This is
useful.
Jordan. Could I jump in real quick? And when we're having this discussion, huh?
You're standing between us and the break, so, please exit.
Oh yeah, it's just going to take 2 seconds. I just wanted the conversation that we're talking about having at a future date. It also needs to include the policies and mechanisms in place for VR distributing funding, because I have providers coming to me that says they're supposed to be paid weekly and they're going 3, 4, sometimes 5 weeks with no payment. And they're small companies. And so now they're at the point of saying, you know, here soon, if things don't change and we don't get paid like we're supposed to, we're going to have to stop being a vendor. And so then TWC right now is on the verge of having a more bigger vendor crisis because they're not distributing funding quickly.
You know, one of the things, very cool, because we will actually, I think, touch that a little bit, later, yeah, they're gonna share report. One of the things very quickly, is, a lot of times there's the timely submission and complete submission of what's necessary to make the payment. And we can get to that when we get to the more detailed discussion.
Okay, guys, we're gonna take a 10-minute break, so we're gonna be back at 10:45 or so. Ed, we'll give you a floor for a few remarks.
Just looking at it, less than I talk right now.
All right, guys, see everybody at 10:45. Good. Okay, we're back. We're back. Next item on the agenda is we are going to hear from Ed Cerna and Brian Daniel. If Brian is on the line, can we open his, there he is. And can I ask the spotlight him on the screen? Is it possible? Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear, loud and here.
All right, how's everybody today? Looks this camera view I have is really interesting.
We cannot see you, but we can hear you.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. There's something weird going on.
It's after Thanksgiving Gremlins. We had the same thing here in Houston.
Anyway, you can hear me. So I'm not with you in Houston, getting ready to head that way tonight. I'll be there all the rest of the week. You know, as always, thanks for all the work you guys are doing. So I looked at your agenda for today, really ambitious agenda. As always, I think you guys are really moving the needle in a way that I think, you know, both employers and the part of the workforce that you represent can really realize some significant gains from the work you're doing. I can't stress enough your work on the public outreach and making sure people know what's going on, how critical that is. What a good job I think you've been doing and targeting the right things. And just let me know what I can be doing to help you further those goals.
Hey, Commissioner, we always value our partnership. Ed, Mr. Turner, the Executive Director.
All right, well, I promise I wouldn't take as much time as I did just a second ago, and I won't. First off, I want to acknowledge something that we all know, and that is the individuals that are seeking our assistance is increasing, which is a good thing. It's increasing at, unfortunately, an unexpected rate. So we are going through our funding at a faster rate than we had originally projected. We will address that. But one thing that I wanted to ask that I'd like to leave with you, the idea that I'd like to leave with you and get feedback on eventually, and the chairman and I spoke about this, is not a concern about funding. It's a concern about how we effectively reach more customers, how we make more people aware of our services. And in my personal opinion, we've been going about it a little wrong. Now Susan's got a great example because she reaches out to employers and sets up employers to hire individuals with disabilities through our various programs. But beyond that, our thought has been, how do we make individuals aware of our service? And we should do that. But I really think what we need to be also considering is, how do we make other individuals or organizations or professionals who assist those individuals aware of our services? So that when someone goes to their optometrist, their specialist, their doctor, their counselor, the counselor can be able to say, you know, there's an organization that can assist you. Contact, go to this website or call this number and get to a TWC VR counselor. And they may be able to help you. But connect us at that level. And the reason I'm saying this is, I've heard too many stories directly from individuals who have a disability who have indicated, I was one person I met was a VP at AT&T. Everything was fine. I began to lose my vision, and then I lost my job. And it was 2 years before I even knew you all existed. Now, once I found you, I got the help I needed, the tools I needed, and I'm working again. Unfortunately, not at AT&T and as an executive, but I'm working again. And I've heard that story over and over and over again, that once I got to you, everything was great, but it took me X, and in most cases, X years to even know you existed. If that very first professional would have said, I'm not sure if they can or not, but contact this organization to assist you. So that's one of the ideas I would like to leave with you, and the only one is, how can we expand awareness of us, not just to the end user, the individual or the family or the caregiver, but to those other levels of individuals who that person will be turning to a lot of times before they ever get to us. The first time that they learn that they're losing their vision, and it is a more permanent situation than they had anticipated. Things like that, other disabilities as well. In schools, in the medical profession, counselors, rehabilitation facilities, things like that. So I'd like to leave you with that thought, and also to let you all know, the chairman indicated, we appreciate everything that you do and all the feedback that we receive. I am available to you all to contact me directly. Staff will get my contact information to you if you have ideas, not just as a part of the council, but individually, or questions or thoughts or observations. I would love to hear from you. It is my responsibility. Ultimately, all those responsibilities end at my desk on the services we provide, the quality of the services, the effectiveness of our tools and our staff. So with that, Mr. Chairman, that's all I'm gonna talk about. I know our staff is doing an outstanding job. The challenges that they face, as we heard earlier about the annual report, the volumes, we'll continue to work through that. But I'll be infinitely available to you all for any thoughts, comments, concerns, observations that you want to share with me. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I'll hand it back to you.
Thank you much. Well said. Well said. Any questions for Ed?
I would say probably farm chicken to one hour, we need about the help.
That's a very good point. We have a division dedicated to outreach, and we have 2 contracts, they're kind of open-ended contracts, and we don't spend any money on them unless we do the service, with 2, for lack of a better description, media or PR firms. And one of the things that division, and it's under Mary York, is outreach and employer initiatives. One of her jobs is to figure out how we get all the information, especially especially in VR, but all the information out across various levels of media, but then also what's effective to, what a doctor wants to have in a little cardboard box in a single handout is different than maybe what a school counselor wants to have. So we do have that, but it's very good to know that, it's a good suggestion and to know that you all will be supportive of us pursuing that. And maybe as you interact with professionals, you can ask, how best could we inform you about the things that we do? Because all of us have our own. I know when I walk into the doctor's office, I see all these different posters and little cardboard holders with little bills, not bills, with little flyers in them. And I've actually talked to my physician and my optometrist about how can we get that word out a little bit better. She's talked to both of them, talked to me about that. So that's a good point with PR.
I have a question about, you mentioned that there was an increase in the number of people who are coming into VR services. And of course, pre-employment transition services have kind of been emerging through the past few years. Do we know if part of that increase is related to more people knowing about VR through the pre-ETS involved with youth, young adults who still in school districts? Is there a correlation?
I think that there's a bit of a correlation with more people knowing. I think some of it, some of the increase is the populations that are coming into the state from other states are more aware of the potential for services and are more comfortable asking for seeking those services than a lot of the population, the native Texans, so to speak, who are used to sort of pulling themselves up by their bootstraps and just doing what they need to do by themselves. And then I think some of it has to do with a little bit of the pandemic and people coming out of the pandemic and more aware of things that are available and seeking things that can assist them. I'm not saying that there's a silver lining behind the pandemic cloud, but if there is one, it would be that people, when they were isolated, became more aware of a need for service and therefore started researching more online, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And as they found it, word of mouth spread. But, and then some of it, quite frankly, is we're still, I shouldn't say we, because our staff is very much more knowledgeable than I am, but I'm still scratching my head trying to figure out what triggered it so we can control it, not control it from a volume perspective, but control it to do more of whatever was to be. Yeah, if I don't know what's working, then I can't really encourage something to do more of it. I can just keep stumbling around, which not an effective way to run an organization. That.
Creative makes sense.
Yeah.
Possibly one of those things.
Yeah, and because of that, in my opinion, we'll see more downstream now that these individuals in pre-ETS are familiar with and used to our services as they move through their career. They're more comfortable and more knowledgeable that there's an organization that can provide services to assist me and for us. So we'll see more downstream demand. And we will address the funding issues accordingly. Now, so in the future, hopefully we won't be in a situation where we're going to change our tactic so that we'll ask for more than what we think we need. And even if we have to hand some back, I'd rather have more in the future than the projections we had in the past. But it's kind of caught us flat-footed in the middle of a budget cycle. The state government unfortunately has these lengthy budget cycles. We will start preparing for the 26-27 fiscal years this coming summer, in the summer of 24. So think about any of y'all that have a crystal ball that will share with me. I'd be glad to tell me what's going to be going on in 26 to 27, so I can put it in my that's the appropriation request in 24.
And are you with us for the next few hours?
Just a little while. I'm here. I've got another appointment at 2, and then so I'll probably do it about 1:30.
Yeah, because I think a lot of the things that we're touching right now, we're gonna really And Cheryl just lost audio.
Of course, and just looked up on the screen.
Yeah.
Okay,
Should put it-
I'm back. Good morning, Mr. Chairman. I'm sorry I missed my cue.
All good. Feel free to play up the Houston, we had a problem line if you want.
All right. So what's happening is the audio and video is great this morning, except about every 20 minutes or so, I lose audio for about 10 seconds. So if I seem to drop or lose you, just somebody let me know, and I'll try to pause so that I can rejoin you as soon as possible. But good morning, everyone. I would love to be with you in person, and I'm so sorry that I'm not there. I can tell that it's a great meeting in the room, and those of us online are sure enjoying hearing the presentations. But I'm grateful that RCT has led the way in moving to hybrid meetings, because now I can join you even though I need to stay close here in Austin for family reasons. So with that, I'm going to provide our update on how we're doing to implement the VR portion of the current combined state plan. All right, next slide, please. So the agenda is familiar to you. I have a couple of general updates. I'd like to give you an update then on where we are with implementing our combined state plan goals, strategies, and success measures. And then I'd like to give you an update on major projects. There are 5 stars here on the slide because that's how many project highlights I'd like to give you as I go through our implementation progress. We have many more than 5 projects, as you know, Mr. Chairman, and we have talked about many times in terms of what we have the capacity to pull off, but I'd like to highlight 5 of those with you. And then also we will move to our budget and expenditures update so that you can see where we are for fiscal 23. This is our final report for Q4 of 23. And then later this afternoon, of course, Jeffrey and Christopher will provide the quarterly performance update. I saw Christopher online. I didn't see Jeffrey, but I didn't scroll through. So they will chime in to provide feedback as we go on our success measures. So that's the flow. But first, I wanted to let you know that for general updates, you are likely aware that on October 31st, we said a fond farewell to Commissioner representing employers Aaron Demerson. He had been doing a fantastic job in that role for 4 years, and he moved on to his new opportunity as the president and CEO of the Texas Economic Development Corporation. So we will miss him, but we were just so pleased to be able to welcome our new commissioner, Joe Esparza, on November 13th. He joined the agency. He came to us having served as the Texas Deputy Secretary of State since December of 2018. And he previously worked in the governor's office as a senior appointments manager. He was a clerk for the city of Lubbock and a field technician for the Texas General Land Office. Members, we now have 2 Red Raiders on the commission. So if you're a Longhorn, just be advised. And if you see a constant theme of red and black, you'll know what's going on. All right. Senate Bill 464, you expressed interest in as we have focused on implementing the legislation passed in the last regular session. And this is designating October 17th as Entrepreneurs with Disabilities Day. I just wanted to let you know some of the things that we were able to do in this very first recognition in October. We partnered with the Governor's Committee on People with Disabilities, and so appreciate their work with us to develop a plan to include Entrepreneurs with Disabilities Day in our overall activities for National Disability Employment Awareness Month in October. We were able to highlight entrepreneurs in our Business Enterprises of Texas program as part of our celebration. The governor also issued a proclamation on October 10th. The governor's committee issued notices and announcements and highlights through their GovDelivery, and we also did the same through our VR Gov delivery. We developed a page on our website as well that has basic information for individuals interested in seeking self-employment, and tells them how to access resources from us, as well as some of the other primary entities that offer assistance to people that are trying to start their own business. So we will keep you posted. This will grow, it will mature as we go forward, but we were happy to be able to get this first recognition off the ground with our partners at the Governor's Committee. All right, next slide. So as we get started on the implementation report for where we are on our VR portion of the current WIOA combined state plan, and by the way, that covers program years 20 through 23. It's a 4-year plan. I took a little step back because what we usually come in and do, and we'll do this quarter, is tell you what have we been doing since we last met and how is that going. But I took a step back because we are 2 years as of December, so just a few days away, we're 2 years into implementation and tracking progress on our current goals and strategies and success measures. We started reporting on these in December of 21. And at the time, we had worked to develop these 6 goal areas and the strategies and the measures based on the findings in the 2020 Comprehensive Statewide Needs Assessment. So we included them in that midpoint modification. Our combined state plan, for our new members, it's a 4-year plan required by our federal law. And at the 2-year point, we do a midpoint modification. So at the 2-year point of this plan, we had a new needs assessment. We updated the plan with our new goals and strategies and success measures. These were multi-year goals. They're complex. They're impacted by both internal and external factors, and they take time and resources and persistence and, Mr. Chairman, innovation to fully address. So we knew that we would be working on them for several years. And we received confirmation of that from the initial information in the 2023 needs assessment. And I know Chris and team are still working on that final report, and it's likely coming your way soon. So as I looked back at 2 years in, where are we? I can say we have seen some real improvement, but we still have work to do, and we knew we would. We have improved our performance on some of the trends that concerned us, and I think you'll see that in the data on the slides that follow. For example, we're engaging a higher percentage of our active providers because we've cleaned up our provider list in RehabWorks, and we have the online provider locator tool that our partners in the analytics and evaluation team, Jeffrey and Christopher and team, developed for us. This is so important because it allows our providers as well as our staff to have a clearer view of the available providers that can assist the customer with that particular service in that particular area. So this was important for customer informed choice, as well as using engaging a broader number of our providers. So we're seeing an increase in the number of available providers, which continues to be a priority. We're not where we want to be, but we're seeing improvement. We're also seeing an increase in the number of customers responding that they had input in choosing their providers, which is something we have been working on for some time. We're also, as you heard Mr. Cerna say, we're seeing an increase in the number of participants. Applicants, yes, but participants and new members. A participant has an approved individual plan for employment, and they have begun services. So that's a little different than an applicant. They're actually receiving services. So we've seen an increase in the number of participants. We are moving our customers from that initial contact with us through receiving services well under the federal maximum. By the way, that federal maximum is far longer than I think anyone would want to wait to receive help. So it's 150 days. So we want to get much faster than that. And so that's 5 months. I don't think anybody considers that a best practice. So we are currently at about 3.5 months, and our goal is to reduce that. This is a prime area for the innovation you talked about, Mr. Chairman, for us to continue to focus on. We've also
So,
significantly reduced the
Cheryl,
loss. Yes, sir.
apologies to interrupt, just seems
No,
to
go
say
ahead.
a right time to ask this question.
Yes.
So more folks coming to for other services. Our budget is set
Mhm.
and set probably around past performance versus future projections.
Right.
So we are potentially in a bit of a danger zone where we're raising expectations without having ability to meet them. So I'm curious to see how we picking up on any of that, and if so, how we can mitigate it or prevent it.
Great. One of the things that we are very actively doing is monitoring the level of our expenditures against our budget. You're right, we do have an established budget. When we develop our projections, we are looking in the past, but also starting to project into the future. What we've seen over the last couple of years is that our expenditure patterns, both in the cost per customer, while we provide more holistic and more robust services like some of the ones you've heard today, we've seen an increase in the cost per customer, but we're also now starting to see an increase in the number of customers. So this does make it a priority for us to continue to serve customers within our resources while we very actively pursue additional funding. And that's something that you heard Mr. Cerna talk about that we are working with them to do. So it is a balancing act as we grow. And our goal is to hit that balance, But we are seeing, I think, significant progress, and you'll see that today, in the number of people coming in, our active engagement of our current customers, which means holistic service delivery, and how we are managing our resources. I will also point out that a couple of the areas where you see us really investing resources are those you heard about earlier today. And that is pursuing post-secondary education and training. We know how important that is in helping customers to be able to get on a career path, not only to get employment, that's important, but we hope to put our customers on a path to higher skill, higher wage jobs, and that requires investment, but also investing in paid work experience and other work-based learning activities. The best way to learn to work is to work, right? The best way to learn what you like to do and what you might be good at doing is to actually be able to do that and have those experiences that many of us had as we entered the workforce. So our investment in those areas has increased significantly. And I think we're seeing the benefit of that when we look at the outcomes for those two types of services. They're higher than some of our other services and our average outcomes. So you're right, we are in a balancing process. I think we're seeing some real improvement in customer engagement and in use of resources. We are also seeing some continued opportunities for improvement. And I'll highlight those as we go through. One of the most significant areas, and this has risen to the top, I noticed it was listed number 1 in our goals that are proposed for this next plan. It is number 1 for me, and that is recruiting and retaining VR staff. That is absolutely the heart of our program. And we need our staff and we need our providers to deliver the service to our customers so that they can achieve their goals. So that's an area we have not seen progress on. We continue to not be immune to the dynamics in the labor market around us, but also have seen changes in the pipeline that we used to have so much success with in terms of recruiting new staff. And I'll talk about that as well. As we continue to implement in this next year, the remainder of this year, I think we have an excellent opportunity to work with you to say, for these goals going forward into the new plan, we've revised our strategy some. How else do we need to revise them to move the needle more on these goals and to be innovative in how we approach them? So the snapshot at 2+ years in, soon for a refresh. Any questions before I move forward or comments?
Folks. Okay,
Next,
Cheryl.
okay, next slide.
Carry on.
Here's a little different view of where we are on our implementation status. And I always smile when I get to this slide, Mr. Chairman, because I think about our prior conversations about prioritizing and capacity. And that's something we continue to work on as a division. So this slide gives our implementation status at a glance. You'll see success measures later. This is just a measure of implementing the activities that we are implementing to achieve improvements in those outcome measures. There are 96 projects and activities associated with these 6 goal areas. We have completed 52, 23 are in progress, 17 are implemented and will be ongoing, and 4 are in queue. That means we're about 72% implemented if you consider those completed and ongoing. So in a couple of years' time, I think we've implemented a lot. We have done this as a staff and as a provider community and with ongoing feedback from you. And we'll continue to do that as we go forward. Next slide. Quick recap of the 6 goal areas. Again, these goal areas are multi-year, so I consider them longer-term goals, 3 to 5 years, to really to see the improvement we want to see. First and foremost for this current period has been improving provider recruitment, retention, and support, followed by streamlining VR policy process and procedure. We want to do that to improve the workflow and facilitate timelier service delivery. Third is recruit and retain VR staff. I would just point out that the first goal about providers and the third goal about staff is greatly assisted by the second goal, if we effectively streamline our policy process and procedure. The fourth is improving and developing additional resources to help our customers maximize their choice. VR is a partnership between a counselor and a customer. A customer has full voice and full contribution to the development of their plan. So being able to make choice that is informed is critical. The fifth goal is improving our staff knowledge and system capacity. This is a complex program. It is a large program. So our ongoing effort is how do we make sure our staff are knowledgeable and equipped to serve our customers? And then what do we need to do to ensure our system has the capacity to provide those enhanced service delivery strategies? And last, something you've talked about this morning, how do we increase and enhance our partnership with employers? I loved hearing our employer partners this morning. We have had an opportunity to build partnerships with them to make sure they understand how we can help. And we're always interested in knowing more how we can help, but also they are aware of the benefits of hiring people with disabilities. How do we do more and more of that? Because that opens doors for our customers. So those are the 6 VR goals. Next slide. So here's the update on the strategies and the activities and the success measures. And I will try to move through this at a pretty reasonable clip, but so that we get through it. I'm mindful that we have a break for lunch, and I certainly don't want to stand in the way of lunch. And then I'll come back and wrap up after. But I will focus on 5 projects that I think are particularly helpful and important that you haven't had recent updates on. And these projects involve significantly improving a VR service, creating a new VR service, and working on that pipeline for our counselors, our future counselors. So next slide. This first goal about recruiting and retaining providers, we had 28 projects and activities associated with this goal. We will have more going forward, but 28 for this current period, 24 of them are complete. And we are still working on 3 and have another ongoing. So we'll be about ready for a refresh in this area in a few months. The project I would like to highlight today, you'll hear about more later from our guests, but it is to ensure our payment rates are competitive and equitable. This project is our comprehensive rate review. And the goal of this is to make sure that we can continue to attract and retain quality providers. That results in better access to services for our customers. So why this project? And I'll give just quick recaps for our new members to hopefully make sure you have the context to kind of put this update into. So while we have updated our individual rates over the years, so we've looked at the specific rates that we knew needed update. While we've established rates for new services, we've established new premium payments. On October 1st of 2021, we even did an across-the-board increase of 22.5% in payment rates for our employment service providers, our pre-employment transition service providers, and our autism support services providers. Even though we've done those things, what we had not done is a comprehensive review of many of our contracted rates. And we hadn't done that since well before we transitioned to the Texas Workforce Commission, which we did on September 1, 2016. So we were quite overdue for a comprehensive review of our rates. This is something we knew needed to be done. It's also something our commission encouraged us to do and identified as important. So at the time we initiated this project, it was fall of 2022. And what we did is that we conducted a procurement and we contracted with a third-party vendor called Public Consulting Group. You'll hear us say PCG, that's what it stands for. We contracted with them to analyze our fee structures, look at payment rates associated with those, look at also how we could consider payment incentives for increasing the number of providers or the range of services in underserved areas. So we had quite a large scope of work for PCG. And after a year of, I think, intensive research and analysis and development of this review and report, they submitted their final report and gave an overview of this comprehensive rate study, their methodologies and recommendations. And they did that first to me and the VR division leadership team, and then also provided an update to our executive leadership. Now, the study itself, comprehensive, intensive as it was the first step. There's a lot to consider after receiving the detailed and thorough report that we received from PCG. Including how do we further assess fiscal impact, how do we prioritize recommendations and specific rate changes, and develop a thoughtful and thorough phased implementation plan. So you'll hear about the report from PCG later today and their recommendations. Now we have significant work to really consider those and move them forward to implementation. We are currently, and by we, I mean VR division leadership, as well as Mr. Cerna, Mr. Townsend, and are currently evaluating the recommendations from PCG to also consider how can we engage them in next steps. We have them under contract through December of 2024, so we will be able to access their considerable expertise in additional fiscal impact, for example, development of implementation planning, which would include communication plans and change management plans and other activities that they can assist us with. So we're looking at how do we prioritize, how can we engage them to help us with next steps. As we prioritize rate changes and begin to consider those, they will also go to our commission for their review and consideration and approval. So that's where we are on this project. I really am pleased with the outcome of the analysis. I think you'll find that it is very detailed and thoughtful in the presentation this afternoon, and we'll look forward to getting your feedback on it and continuing to update you as we go. So that is major project highlight number one. Next slide. Yes, sir.
To summarize, their findings are our rates are competitive, our rates are uncompetitive, our rates are kind of somewhere, depends on what specific category. What was the conclusion?
The bottom line for my takeaway is this: our rates need increasing across the board. How much they are recommended to be increased varies based on the service. Some of the largest recommended rate increases are for some of the most specialized services to specific customer populations. for example, for our customers who are blind or low vision, while other services may be recommended for a lower or a smaller percentage increase, but it is truly a range. Overall, it is about increasing so that we are competitive with our rates for our providers. The other takeaway is that we have an opportunity to consider how we can use some type of an incentive payment structure to encourage more providers to either open up shop in rural areas or deliver services to rural areas from other parts of the state. So those are kind of two of the big takeaways, but across the board, you'll see a recommendation for increasing rates.
Thank you.
You bet. All right, let's go one more slide. And I'll turn it over to Christopher or Jeffrey to give an update on our success measures.
Yes, thank you, Director Fuller. Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, and Mr. Serna. This Goal 1 measures how well we are using our providers. And as you noticed, the provider activity rate is what we've been tracking. We are currently on a quarterly basis using close to 50% of our providers, and that rate has increased substantially since the 2019 to 2021 period. Part of that is due to cleaning up, as Director Fuller mentioned earlier, cleaning up some inactive providers from the RehabWorks system. But the good news is that our active provider base remains stable. We're not seeing that fall in providers as we did in the 2020 CSNA. So there's progress being made on this front. Next slide, please. And this slide looks in particular at contracted providers because this is where the key focus of recruitment efforts has been on our contracted provider base. And as you see, we have also increased the activity rate to about 62% in this current quarter 3 of 2023, calendar quarter that is. And we have, if you notice from the pandemic year of 2020, we've really increased the number of active providers, our active contracted providers, as well as taking out some of the inactive providers, as you see that difference from 2021 to 2022. So we made a lot of progress in the activity rate for contracted providers. Any questions? Okay,
all right,
great.
Next slide.
Yep.
Well, this is Karen. I have a question, but it wasn't about that slide. And I'm glad to see that the usage of current providers is, I guess, increasing with that. But I guess my question is, what efforts are being done, if any, at this point in trying to increase providers? Because there are areas still where there are not providers available to provide services, and clients are either having to go without, or we're struggling trying to find them in a different region. Will it come over here? So I guess my question is there a plan, and maybe you're going to go over it, on how the efforts are being made to increase the number of providers in these areas where there's a shortage or a lack of?
I'd be happy to address that. First of all, I'd like to thank our regions, because our regions are closest to the action. They know where they have insufficient numbers of providers, either in a particular geographic area or for a particular service. And they are actively engaging potential providers to try to recruit them to become providers. And this is pretty much a variety of staff, but our regional offices, I know Susan and her team can probably speak to this, as well as some of our business relations coordinators as they are out providing service. So I think that regionally, they understand the region and they are able to engage ongoing to recruit providers. What we have tried to do as well at the state office is extend, with the support of our procurement and contracting department, extend the open enrollment periods so that we leave those open enrollments open longer, which makes it easier for us to refer potential providers to that process and have them able to go ahead and submit an application instead of having to wait for the next open enrollment. And then we are also, of course, looking at the recommendations from this rate review. And one of the things as we move into further fiscal impact is also looking at where do we have a shortage of providers by geography or by type of service. That would suggest a prioritization in how we move forward. So those are three areas. But I know I've mentioned the regional office a few times. So if you don't mind, Susan, is there anything you would add to that from the regional office perspective?
On providers, we find that there are certain areas. We find there are certain areas where we need more than others, for sure. Of course, in Region 5, as I talked about earlier, we're very condensed metropolitan area. So for example, we have a lot of job placement providers. So that's not one area we would look at, although I hear from my counterparts that there is need across the state. So you're spot on saying that I think that it is from a regional perspective. One area that I've experienced a need in is for psychiatric services.
Yeah, it's more medical.
And psychological counseling. And that has to do with, one of the things that I've heard on that one is that it does need a rate increase or needs to be examined. But would you like to add to that?
So we have a regional staff that.
Can you speak up?
I'm sorry. We have a group of regional staff that we look at different areas where we need providers. So we have a new COA that we're working with, community outreach and awareness specialist. And his background is like mental health. And so we were trying to look at that as an opportunity as well, to try to figure out, giving it some relationship with those areas so that they can become providers. Because that was a huge need. I mean, it's that you do have vendors already, but a lot of them don't have appointments until like months out, and things like that. And so that becomes a barrier for us, or some of them want to take on time, you know, they may do the assessment, but they need therapy or something like that, they're not able to take them on. So we look at that, as far as employment services, as they were saying, we do have an influx in our area, but the problem that we have is convincing them to go out into the outer areas, and they do have mileage training available to them. We just have to make sure there's no other providers out there that are available. So that is an option. We have meetings with our providers on a quarterly basis to kind of remind them of where we have needs. We have customers that need those services in those particular areas.
So it sounds like it's basically an issue that the regional areas are addressing.
Right.
Okay.
It's twofold. The regional offices and the regional areas are best positioned to know their communities and know the providers.
Right.
And then at the state office, we're trying to look more systemically at what can we do. That includes how can we work with the open enrollment process to make it more accessible to providers or to make it more efficient for providers. And Jamie and her team continue to work on that. What can we look at from this rate study to see if there's a way we can prioritize where we have gaps or underserved areas? So we're looking at it from a kind of a different viewpoint, but regions are instrumental in this process. That actually sets up very well the Goal 2 update that I have for you today. And this is about, sorry, did I hear someone ask a question?
No.
You said, yay.
Okay.
Okay. So this goal too is streamline or redesign policy processes and systems. And there are 3 significant projects I'd like to update you on here. The first one is our focus on streamlining and redesigning policy, procedure, forms for self-employment. This is such an important service for the individuals who are seeking self-employment as the way they would like to achieve their career goal, their employment goal. And we have for your review at your convenience, a summary that you requested at our last meeting of what we do in VR to assist people with a self-employment goal. So that summary is in your folders. And the redesign is referenced at the end of that summary, but I'll just hit the high points on that. So we actually started this in 2022. Our team put together a work group of providers, of staff, and certified business technical assistance consultants called CB Tax. They gave us really robust feedback on their experience with our self-employment policy processes and forms, including the experience of our customers who had self-employment goals. And they really talked about where we could improve. And here's what we heard. Our processes and policies are confusing for our staff and contractors. Our forms are repetitive and lengthy. And our guidance varies across regions. So we don't have enough clear guidance and training to really support effective and consistent implementation of this service. So that really helped us see that we don't need tweaks, we need a significant redesign. So what we did this year is we added some capacity to this project, and I was just thrilled about this. So I wanted to share with you just a little bit. We added capacity by having a summer intern. This intern was fantastic. She's getting her master's of degree in social work from the University of Houston. Her master's is focused on policy and systems more than on serving at the individual level. And she developed her interest in policy, having worked for the legislature as a policy analyst. So we absolutely got a gem, and she came together with the VR team, and she really did lend her experience and her fresh eyes to this project. And so she did a deep dive into the extensive feedback we got from the work group. She worked with our VR team and with their guidance to analyze that feedback, look at where we needed to improve, and propose a redesign of our process and forms. And so we had to say goodbye to her in August after she presented on her project. I hope we get to hire her in the future. And I made a very clear play for that. I told her not to forget us after she completed her program. But her passion and her fresh eyes, I think, were invaluable, coupled with the expertise of our team. And so we have moved now into the rewrite and redesign. And we hope to launch this new policy and process in July of next year. So in short, they're going to simplify the self-employment process. They're going to clearly define the roles and responsibilities of all of the key individuals and entities in this process. So everybody's clear about who does what by when. They're going to streamline the policies and the forms, and they're going to create additional guidance and training materials so that we can deliver those for both staff and our providers so that we can be consistent in how we implement. And of course, members, you know that you will be involved in this process because long about after the first of the year, and specifically in February, they will be bringing draft changes and revisions to you for feedback and will engage you as they move forward. This we have needed to do for a while. The number of individuals seeking self-employment is a pretty small percentage of the people that we serve. We hope that it will grow, but the percent of people on the whole seeking to open their own business is relatively small. It is a process, though, that is just kind of fraught with opportunities for challenges and failure. If you just think about small business development and the failure rate of that. So it is so important that we have a good policy and process to support entrepreneurship among people with disabilities. And it's complex, and it's not something that our staff come out of their master's programs or come from other backgrounds. It's not something they often know, because in many instances, we haven't started our own business. So I'm thrilled that we have this project. It is much needed. And just to give you very quick stats on, and which is in your summary, by the way, we had, as of this month, we have 608 of our VR participants that have a goal of self-employment. If you look at our success rates for those that have exited in the last 3 complete fiscal years, so that's 21, 22, and 23, our success rate is about 66 to 68%. That's a higher success rate than our average success rate, which is now back above 50%. So we'd like to see that even better, but we do see good success. I think we can see even better success and more participation as we complete and roll out this project. Any questions about that?
Yes, Ms. Fuller, this is Karen
Yes.
Stanfield,
Yes.
and I do. I'm reading in the report that we have about self-employment that there's reference to Griffin Hammis. And is it, I want to make sure I understand this. Are you guys able to keep them on as consultants ongoing? Or is it just for this short term where they might be available for staff to let the Griffin and Hammis look at self-employment plans?
We engage them ongoing, particularly in the training of our, what we call our CB tax. For members, for those of you who are not aware, Griffin Hammis has very deep expertise in both self-employment and supported self-employment. And so they are a source of subject matter expertise for us ongoing. And they'll continue to participate on these work groups as we improve this process and this service.
Okay, and secondly, this has also been a goal of the RCT Policy Committee. Would you guys be open to letting somebody from the council be involved in this group as they look at making these changes?
Absolutely. I believe that is what we envision, but Rika is, I have phoned a friend for each of these projects. So Rika is on, I know Aisa is also listening, and Aisa is one of our leads on this project. So Jamie in the room, can we follow up and identify an RCT member or members who'd like to participate?
Absolutely. Oh, great.
That is part of the process.
Okay, all right, thank you. I wasn't sure. Wonderful, I appreciate that.
You bet. You bet. This is important. I'm excited about this because I think we have real opportunity here. All right. Our next 2 projects that I'd like to update they involve new services for our customers. The first one is customized employment. And this term is in the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act. Sorry, go back. There we go. We'll park on this one for a little while. So it is in WIOA. And for those of you who aren't as familiar with this term, customized employment is still competitive integrated employment, but it is developed based on a real individualized approach and process to identify for an individual, for a participant with a significant disability, their interests and their strengths and their needs. And it is designed to meet the needs of the individual and the abilities of the individual, but also the business needs of the employer. So it is a very flexible process, because what it means is that there is a kind of a personalized and customized employment relationship between our participant, our customer, and an employer. And they are often designing a job that meets a business need for an employer and also meets the interest and abilities of a participant. Most often, this is a service reserved for participants that have the most significant disabilities or complexities associated with their employment needs. And so you can imagine that this is both a complex and an intensive process. And it requires us to have qualified providers, engaged employers, and knowledgeable VR staff. It's a very important part of that continuum of services of VR, because this service is appropriate and very needed by some of our customers with most significant disabilities. A couple of years ago, we participated in a community of practice from one of the RSA-funded technical assistance centers. And we learned a lot in that process. And the main thing we walked away with is we need to get some expert help to put this together and put it on the ground in Texas. So that's the next step we took. We issued a solicitation for a contractor who could come on board to help us with this. We initiated that procurement in 2022, and this June, we contracted with San Diego State University in partnership with Griffin Hammis and Associates. What they are going to do is help us to design infrastructure, provide training, and then provide mentoring and technical assistance to implement these services. One of the first steps we need to take is we need to train providers who are interested in becoming customized employment specialists. So we will need to have contracts with those providers. And that's one of the things we're doing first. So we've drafted an open enrollment solicitation, which is making its way through the review process and which we hope to post after the first of the year. The requirements for the service and the rates, they're all in this solicitation, not yet in our standards for providers, because what we want to do is have a process of implementing a pilot, refining, we know we will need to refine policy and practice and forms, and then replicate statewide and move it into our standards for providers. So we are doing that right now. And we are also working with San Diego State University to identify requirements for a web-based system for managing the credentials that our providers will earn so that they are qualified to provide customized employment. So very exciting there. We are getting some movement. We have help, and we have help of two entities with deep expertise in this area. San Diego State University was the entity that led the community of practice that we attended. So we're very pleased to be working with them. Any questions on customized employment services?
Quick, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. How would this fit in with supported employment? I mean, would it in some way not coexist? That's not what I'm looking for. But could supported employment be part of that customization?
That's an outstanding question, Glenda. Thank you. Because if you think about a continuum of services, with the continuum being maybe the intensity and the robustness of the services we provide to a customer, the supported employment is right next to customized employment. Supported employment is placing an individual into a position that it meets their interests and their abilities, and then providing training after that placement. So place, then train. It is likely to, you're likely to see several of the components of supported employment in customized employment. But the difference with customized employment is that the job itself is developed with input from the employer about what their business needs are, and the individual about what their interests and abilities are. So it's not placing someone to an existing position, it's creating a position that meets both individual and business needs, and then placing them. So I think you'll see components.
Well, I understand what you're saying, but I'm also wondering, since you're talking potentially about a customer with more detailed needs, even though it's customized, with a supported employment, in order to help that customer become proficient at that job, be something that might happen. That, I think that's where I was going with it, because I understand the difference.
Yes, absolutely. I think that ongoing support for someone once they're placed in the job will be as important for customized employment as it is for supported employment. Absolutely. All right, one more project update, Mr. Chairman, and then I will pause in case you would like to break for lunch. So the third update on a new service, and Mr. Powell, hallelujah, right? He has been talking with us about this one for a while, and that is peer support services. So as you know from our quarterly performance updates, members, while individuals with psychological or psychosocial primary disabilities comprise about 20% of our customer population, we have less success assisting them in achieving their employment goals than we do with other of the primary disability groups identified in our reporting. And so one of the things that we have been doing is trying to improve our policy, and we certainly did that. We improved our policy a couple of years ago, specifically for customers with a psychological or psychosocial disability co-occurring with substance use disorder. But we knew we needed to do more to provide support to help our customers, particularly our customers on a recovery journey. You've heard Mr. Powell talk about this, members who have been here for a while. He is an expert in this area, but peer support is widely recognized, and it's an evidence-based approach to the process of recovery. So a peer support specialist is someone that has lived experience of recovery from a mental health condition, a substance use disorder, or both. There are also peer support specialists for other primary disability types. Peer support specialists provide support to people that are experiencing similar challenges. They are certified. They don't provide clinical support, but what they do is come alongside an individual on their recovery journey, and they help them see what is possible. They encourage, they inspire, they educate based on their training and their own recovery journey, and they help connect those individuals to tools and resources. So we think that this will be an excellent service to support our customers and to improve those employment outcomes for our customers. So what we have done, and we've been working on this for a while, it began, I think, in earnest with Mr. Powell's presentation to RCT and his engagement with Jonas Schwartz and his team. We provided training in our DFW region, Mr. Powell did, and we began to look at what we needed to do to build an infrastructure for this new service. So what we did most recently is we issued a solicitation because, again, building that infrastructure is critical. And that solicitation or that procurement was awarded on October 25th. We executed a contract for vocational rehabilitation peer specialist training and endorsement services to an organization called Form Communities Incorporated based in San Antonio. Form Communities develops and supports peer-led communities for mental wellness and recovery. You may have heard of one of their flagship entities, the San Antonio Clubhouse. I believe it was the first clubhouse in Texas established 20 years ago. And what they will do is they will develop a VR endorsement curriculum. So it will help a peer specialist who holds a Texas Certification Board credential to be able to qualify for an endorsement, which means they will understand the VR process and they will understand how to walk alongside and provide peer support services to a VR participant. So the Form Communities is going to help us develop the training and the participant manual for the endorsement. They're going to provide training to individuals seeking to earn the endorsement and to VR staff to help us learn more about peer specialist services and how to engage these professionals. And then they will notify the Texas Certification Board when a peer support specialist has earned the credential so that we can have that communication with that certification board. And they'll provide input and recommendations as we go on how we improve this and how our process unfolds. So again, this is about the infrastructure to say, we need peer support specialists that understand VR. So they're already a certified peer support specialist. Then they get this endorsement where they understand VR. And then we will be able to issue the open enrollment and where they can apply and say, I'd like to be one of your providers. And our counselors will be able to access this service for customers who are on a recovery journey from diagnosis of mental or behavioral health, substance use disorder, or both. Jonas is on the line, so he can help if you have any questions that I don't know the answer to, but that is our 4th major project update. Members, do you have any questions?
This is Jordan. I had some questions around this because I am a certified peer specialist.
Yes,
I actually used to work for Mr. Powell. That's how I learned about the RCT, ironically. So when you're talking about peer support, my concern is that we're leaving out a valuable population and those that are eligible, because people with intellectual and developmental differences can also benefit from peer support. And right now, with the way the Medicaid benefit is written, which I am working on fixing, and I actually got a bill through the House this past session to the Senate, but didn't get it a hearing in the Senate. I was close, but we ran out of time. So right now, people with IDD don't have anywhere to go for peer support services. And with the way I'm understanding you explaining this, BR is in a way continuing the exclusion, so to speak.
Well, I appreciate your comment, and I think that it connects right to one of the first discussions we had about this. So the more we learned about peer support specialists, the more we could see the benefit to having certified peer support specialists to walk alongside our customers with a variety of primary disabilities. So our goal is not to exclude, but our goal is to phase in and pilot and make sure we do it well. One of the things we know we need to do is we need to start somewhere, right? And the population of individuals with psychological or psychosocial primary disabilities is one in which we have been working for a while, and we have not seen the success improve to the degree we would like it. We prioritize this as our first step into peer support specialists, but this infrastructure can also be used to then expand those services to individuals with other primary disabilities, because you're right, multiple folks can benefit from this service, but we want to implement it with good infrastructure, pilot it, replicate it, expand it. That's our goal.
Okay. I like the way you took the time to explain it. It makes a lot more sense now. And I like that approach. I could see how that would be beneficial. Thank you.
Thank you, Jordan. Members, any other questions?
I have a question. If you can hear me, is my audio?
Yes.
Okay.
I can hear you.
So I love this. I think this is fantastic.
I do
I love
too.
how you're rolling it out. My question is,
Apologies, who's speaking just for the,
oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry,
This is Peggy Schmidt. Sorry about that.
oh,
Hi,
hey,
Peggy.
Didn't recognize the voice.
No, that's okay. My question is on the process of earning the endorsement and then doing the open enrollment for the contract. Is that the correct order?
Right. The order is making sure we get the infrastructure in so that when someone applies for a contract to be a VR peer support specialist, they will have been able to take the training to get the endorsement. So we're not having somebody apply first and then wait. This is a little different than how we're approaching our customized employment, because for customized employment, we want to pilot a new service in Texas. Peer support specialists are in Texas. They are established. We need to get an endorsement they can take and then apply. Customized employment, we need to develop this service ground up in Texas. And so we need a group of providers that says we're willing to go first in this particular area.
Right. But for right there, they're already and maybe I'm just not understanding it correctly. So they're already the qualified peer support specialist, and then they earn the endorsement.
Mhm.
And then they go through the open enrollment contract.
Right.
Okay. And then that open enrollment contract process is not the easiest to get through. And I
Right.
through experience, but
Right.
will there be any support for any individuals that maybe need help getting through that contracting process, or are the peer support, are they kind of connected to an agency that has done this already? I think I want to make sure that in order to build this provider base, there's the supports to help them get through that contracting process, because it's not easy.
That is a point very well taken. It is the open enrollment process, although we continue to work to improve it, is not an easy process for organizations, for small businesses. And so for individuals, we need to be doubly prepared to come alongside interested applicants. And we need to be particularly mindful when we develop the open enrollment solicitation of what we're requesting and how. It will need to be ever more customer friendly, which we want to do with all open enrollment applications. But that is a high priority for me, and I'm sure for Jonas and his team, when we invite individuals to apply. There may be organizations that apply as well, but I'm anticipating individual peer support specialists will be applying. So really top of mind for me, and I know for Jonas.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
You bet.
Hey, Cheryl, I have a follow-up question that came to mind based off of Peggy's train of thought. So then the next question would be, since you're kind of expecting individual peer specialists to apply, is there a thought process of, instead of having them as a vendor, to bring them on as staff? So that, because what happens is, and this is the issue that employment for me is difficult, is I cannot do self-employment until Social Security treats it the exact same as W-2. So if you're talking and expecting individual peer specialists, then are y'all looking at bringing them on as an employee of the state and have them work out of the office with the counselors, so that way whenever they need to come in and talk to someone, if their counselor isn't available, then maybe there's a peer specialist there that can at least let them vent?
You know, we always would like to add staff. I have about 5 or 6 areas where I would like to add staff, but one of the things that we have to work within our state government is that we have only so many full-time equivalents or so many staff positions we can hire. So we do have a limit on those, and we work within that. We do not, however, have a limit on the number of people who are our providers. So we can expand there first. This is new to us, Jordan. You're an expert, but this is new to us. So as we go forward, we're going to learn a lot about it. And, you know, one of these days, it may be that we consider having in-house peer specialists, just like we recently hired in-house benefits planners. Now, they are not at all replacing our provider base, which we have to meet the demand, but they supplement and support that. So it might be something we can consider for future, but for right now, our goal is to build our provider base. Again, we may see more organizations apply that employ peer specialists. We may also see some individuals, and we just want to be prepared either way.
Okay. The only other thing I would say, keeping in mind, is when you're looking, if we kind of get to the point where y'all are looking to bring people on staff, there needs to be part-time opportunities for peer specialists. That's kind of one of the challenges in the field right now, is a lot of them are full-time. And for some people like myself who have not only mental health challenges, but also physical disability and learning differences, I can't handle a full-time job, because we tried that with Mr. Powell, and thankfully Mr. Powell was amazing and supportive, and we kind of got to the point that we understood that part-time was the best for me, and he just happened to have a part-time slot open, and so we just switched me over. And so that's just kind of the thing that I want you to keep in mind, especially when you contract with organizations, is to make sure that they offer a few part-time slots, so those peer specialists who have disabilities that might not can handle a full caseload have the opportunity to gain employment, because that's been one of my biggest barriers.
Thank you, Jordan. I appreciate that feedback. And I do see Jonas online. Mr. Chairman, I know we're past due for lunch, but can I ask Jonas if I missed anything important or if he needs to correct anything I didn't get quite right?
Please.
So,
Jonas?
good afternoon, members, and hi, Cheryl. And no, you did not misspeak. You got everything correct, and so thanks very much.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Back to you, because I know we're past due for lunch, so want to make sure I stop at the right time.
Perfect, thanks, Cheryl. We'll get right back to you right after lunch. Before we go, one remark. If anybody still wants to make public comment and you haven't yet enough to do so, please sign up before 3 o'clock today. So we're gonna sign ups at 3 o'clock today, and then the public comments are scheduled for 5:20 in the late afternoon. All right, folks, let's break up, and we will get back at 12:50. 12:50. Thanks, everybody.